Yeah. Okay, I'd like to call the Town of Rochester Planning Board regular meeting for May 13th, 2024 to order. If you would please join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance, flag, United States of America, to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, visible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The roll call first. Chair Grasso is here. Member Jones? Here. Member Jarvis? Here. Member Graham is absent tonight. Member Maloney? Here. Here. Member Pinsky is here. Member Nelson is here. And our alternate Helena Duda is here. Also in attendance, Jasmine Wilhelm, our secretary, Dave Gordon, attorney for the planning board, Dave Church, our planner for the planning board, and Greg Bolter, the town's engineer. Okay, we'll get started with some quick trivia, and we will get right ahead to our agenda. Since we were talking about the granary public hearing tonight, I found some trivia that is related to the locale. The Anderson Feed Mill was the largest business to develop in Accord during the railroad era, employing 6 men. What started as a location to store supplies for animal feed soon turned into other business endeavors such as commercial sale of grain, bagged cement, fuel oil, kerosene, drinking water, and 4 varieties of coal. The success of the mill led to the Anderson family to extend down Main Street, Accord, with a bus company, Ford and Chevrolet dealerships, and a roller skating rink. Along with business success, the Anderson family were successful in local politics, holding seats in the office of town clerk, town supervisor, county sheriff, and instrumental in creation of the Accord Fire District, both serving as commissioners and fire chief. So good trivia in relative to our application on our agenda tonight. Without further ado, we'll get started, which is Planning Board 2024-8, the Granary. This is Ren Hockey and Henry Rich's project. Site plan approval here in the hamlet at 2 Towpath Road. Mr. Hockey, we have done a bunch of things since our last meeting. We have updated our plan, which you've submitted to us. We've met with the fire department, which has been a success. We received a letter from them. Thank you to the fire guys for that. Greg has reviewed lighting and has additional questions, which we'll talk about a little later. We also have the public hearing tonight. I believe Mr. Church did another review. Some attorney comments, Mr. Moriello and Mr. Gordon have been talking back and forth, so thank you guys. We have to talk about the Ulster County Planning Board tonight. We have something we need to do with business there. And then we also have, before we open the public hearing, we also have a time of operation conflict. So in reviewing, there's an operational time that was approved in the EEO that was not correctly submitted to the planning board. So your approval for the EEO arranged for a time of noise to be provided at your operation, which was which would limit outdoor amplified noise up to 10 p.m. on Friday and Saturdays and 9 p.m. on Sunday through Thursday, which is written in the EEO and was approved by the town board. In your submittal to the planning board, the amplified music is being held until 11 p.m. on Friday through Sunday and until 10 p.m. on all other nights, which is Monday through Thursday. So I'm assuming, and I'm not one to assume, but I assume that this is just a clerical error in your submission and that you're proposing what the town board EEO already approved. And the reason I say that is because if it's not that way, we need to send you back to the town board to have that conversation and get that time handled and figured out. So before we open the public hearing, I sort of want to get that business cleared away because I'm sure that some of the public who attended the EEO was under the assumption that that was going to be what you were planning on doing, rather than your submittal to the planning board is different. So do you have sort of I'm hoping it was a clerical error and we can move on, or do you have something else in addition to that?
I have it here in the neg deck that outdoor amplified music will cease by 11 p.m. on weekends.
Okay.
Friday through Sunday, and by 10 p.m. on weekdays, Monday through Thursday.
Okay. Okay, that's not what I am showing, so we will have to iron that out. Zorian, something on that topic?
Yes, in the season of town board,
Yep,
they give public, planning board.
Yep.
Final decision,
yes,
so we still can discuss.
sure. Yeah, they referred saying that the planning board will have obviously final decision, but the conversation based on the EEO approval was the time frame of the town code, which you need to abide by. So,
Just tell me again what you have.
sure, I am showing, up to 10 p.m. Friday and Saturdays, and 9 p.m. on Sunday through Thursday.
That's what I should be EEO.
That is correct. And that is local law 10 of 2023. Starts at page 18, item 8, F as in Frank. So I don't need an answer for that tonight, but I was expecting that we would be able to hash that out before the public had a chance to speak, because I anticipate that maybe will come up. Okay, we'll start the public hearing. So for the public this is for the public. As we open the public hearing, here are a couple of items to be aware of for the public and to recognize. The public hearing is for the public to express their knowledge and or input about this specific project. The board will grant public comment to community members who have signed up on the clipboard on the table located at the entrance to the community center. Community members who have signed up will be granted between 3 and 5 minutes per person to speak. This opportunity is not a question and answer from the board or the applicant, yet the opportunity to speak about the application and or knowledge that you may have about the property. Comments should be related towards the health, safety, and welfare of the town of Rochester and this project in discussion. With that being said, Jasmine, do you have a list? I have it, thank you. We will start in order here. I have Jay Martin from 18 Towpath. Jay?
Good evening. I am Jay Martin from 18 Towpath, and I probably have as much or more interest in this as anyone else, in as much as I share some 400 feet common boundary line next to the proposed project. Number one, I find this idea of music until 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock and so forth unacceptable. It will certainly be capable of being heard in as much as I share that same boundary line. I would prefer to see no amplified music. According to some information in the Bluestone Press that states that we have no intention whatsoever of doing any outdoor events. And then it states not live music, just ambient music playing on speakers in the courtyard. Again, I am inches away from where this activity is going to take place. So I would prefer no outside music. It's going to definitely impact my life in a very negative way. I'm very concerned about any kind of lighting. Again, share the same boundary for some 400 feet. Is there going to be some kind of barrier, trees or some natural perhaps way of creating a sound barrier and a visual barrier? Again, I share some 400 plus feet along the same line. I'm very concerned about this whole project. There's an old saying about enough is nice and too much is nasty. Maybe some of this stuff is just too much, and in my opinion, it's going to be nasty. It's definitely going to impact my life in a negative way. I would ask the board to consider, when some of these things are mentioned, which one of you would like a carnival in your backyard? Because essentially that's what it's going to be, with music and lighting, people talking, noise, etc. It's going to be a carnival in my backyard. And which one of you on the board would like that in your backyard? I'm also very concerned about the water supply. I have 3 wells on my property. I'm concerned about the wastewater supply, wastewater effluent coming from this project, because that's all rock. There are ledges, there are fissures, there are hollows. That's why it was called a quarry, just a few hundred feet beyond the border of this. There was some concern that was mentioned in the Bluestone Press about the rail trail gap. Seems to me that's rather an illogical statement. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the bar, where the closest ingress and egress place is besides by the snowplow off of Scenic Road. It is on Lucas and Avenue. You can get on it from West Cross Road, you can egress on Lucas Avenue. Surely, a few hundred feet of a gap for the people to walk for the snowplow area and get on. It's almost a non-brainer. It just does not make sense to worry about that little piece of property that's Anthony's place. Again, you're talking a few yards, maybe 100 yards. Seems totally illogical to worry about that little piece of property for people to get onto the rail trail. And if you haven't walked it, take a hike, see how far it is. It's a very short distance. There's also adequate parking for those who wish to use the trail right behind the snowplow. So in any event, folks, I hope that you will consider this. I hope that you will really put a damper on any kind of music, especially amplified, especially outside, because it's going to have a definite impact. If you think not, talk to the people in Alligarville where they hear the music from the Crested Head, because it's up and down the creek. People even on Cherry Hill Road can hear that music. So thank you very much for your consideration. I hope you put a severe damper on any kind of amplified and exterior music, in addition to these other water concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. David Stoltz, 31 Main.
Yes, on 31 Main Street. I know that these live on both sides, I kind of on neighbor. And I'm 100% for this project because from what I understand, 18 new jobs will be created. And the history of that project is for this. Tons of years. And there used to be a ship's galley there, Chinese restaurant. Noise was happening all around there. And I think this is a major improvement in the town. I think it's excellent for Rochester to have more jobs for the community and to have a venue where people can come and shop and a good time in the town.
Thank you. Alana Blum on 5 Scenic. Hi.
So we have kind of adapted the use of the forlorn historically significant structures on the Greenway property is a compelling venture. However, this board must take into consideration the community surrounding this unprecedented, hugely impactful project. The hamlet is a small mixed-use zone with residents interwoven with commercial and municipal properties that all operate with non-hospitality business sellers. So far, your consideration for emergency egress and potential light pollution impacts have been helpful and appreciated. However, the taxpaying residents of the hamlet will be negatively affected by the proposed amplified music inclusion of the application. Our quality of life and subsequent property values will be directly adversely impacted. The allowance of outdoor amplified music perpetuates the poor precedent set by other venues in other parts of the town, and this is in your control to mitigate. There is a reason this is not current theme in applications before this board. It's not simply because our town has yet to institute a noise ordinance. The comprehensive plan is, quote, intended to ensure the town of Rochester has policies in place so that the property rights of landlords can be protected by a balanced set of standards that preserve the rights to use land as desired and address the impacts of such development on adjacent landowners and property rights, unquote. In theory, the proposed project conforms with the town comprehensive plan objective of promoting tourism. However, the comprehensive plan contains many other critically important objectives, including ensuring that existing tourism enterprises are able to operate in a manner that minimizes conflict with other existing uses in town, and the objective to prevent intrusion of incompatible uses in residential areas. For starters, with the EOD, which is the Economic Enterprise Overlay District Zone, the EOD zone change legislation for the Granary project. The waffling on the agency and oversight notwithstanding, this board should not assume that further adjustments cannot and should not be made. Local law 10 of 2023 amending the zoning map for this states in item number 8 page 21 that the planning board may impose more restrictive conditions in accordance with section 140-20F of the town zoning code. And according to 140-20, planning board can quote unquote reasonably limit the hours of operation to attenuate or mitigate any potential noise impacts of any proposed use, unquote. So what is reasonable? While the town code section 140 states up to 10 decibel increase above ambient is permissible, it should be noted that the DEC outlines 5 to 10 decibel increase to be quote unquote intrusive. To oppose this increase 12 times per year, as special use permits typically allow in order to facilitate commercial events is one thing. To ask residents to endure this increase as much as 365 days a year for the duration of hours of operation, which may be as much as 12 to 14-hour window based on the various complementary uses proposed, is not just unreasonable, it is egregious. The 10 decibel above ambient model seems simple, but is problematic because it appears to it appears to allow for exponential noise increases. Exponential is not an exaggeration here, it's fundamental calculus. We are setting a precedent for all existing commercial properties in the hamlet, as well as new ventures in the future. This is going to have a significant adverse impact on the residents of the hamlet, and this cannot be ignored. In reviewing the site plan, this board can and must clarify the conditions and restrictions imposed on this applicant, balancing the interest of the applicant and the community as a whole, setting forth a procedure that's not only reasonable, but that does not impose an undue or unworkable burden on the enforcement officer charged with ensuring compliance. The applicant is stating that the restaurant portion of the application will have hours of operation until 10 or 11 p.m. on any given night. Why would outdoor amplified sound restrictions imposed on Crescent Hen, whose events share the common objective of social congregation, convivial dining and drinking in a college visual setting, and also located in the Hamlet district, not be applicable here? Instead, outdoor amplified sound has the potential to impose on neighbors every day evening of the year. There are 15 residential properties within 500 feet of the lot line of this project, and another 10, give or take, just beyond that. Lest anyone forget that a hamlet may not only be an epicenter of commerce, but is a mixed-use zone, and the hamlet of Accord in particular has twice as many residences and businesses. The reasonable ask here is that the planning board apply the same standards set forth for the Crescent Hen project and prohibit outdoor amplified noise for business operations. Most importantly, for nearly all applications that have come before this board in the recent past, the onus of sound regulation has been placed on the applicant. Self-regulation presents a glaring conflict of interest. The fox and bird of the hen house, as they say. The court enforcement office is understaffed and overburdened, and ensuring compliance on the part of the applicant is no less important than this board imposing reasonable conditions and restrictions in approving the application. Accordingly, I respectfully request that a condition of approval be that members of the planning board shall be timely notified of, permitted, and authorized to witness and monitor all baseline ambient decibel readings related to this project, including amplified bass and percussion. This is not an unreasonable request, given that the precedent has been set in previous applications. This is the best way to ensure the community that these metrics are accurate and that the process is reliable, consistent, and trustworthy. Development and commercial activity of any kind naturally generates noise. The emergence of more such activity will inevitably lead to higher ambient levels over time, as described. It can be and is often argued that noise generated by commercial activity is a price worth paying for the benefits that come along with economic growth. However, these are limits. However, there are limits to that argument, especially when said business operations can be accommodated unimpeded indoors without infringing on the nearest neighbors. Dining al fresco without amplified music can and will generate plenty of business, especially in a setting with spatially unique as Greater. That said, the approval of this project and the consideration of further restraints or conditions on the development were meant to be a decision based on application data, facts and code, and the protection of the community affected, not just the financial interests or constraints of the applicant or other parties with vested interest. So I would like to close with this. No amplified sound. Commerce can still be sustained. Hospitality can still be hospitable. In fact, more so, because the development will be hospitable to patrons and residential owners alike. while being compliant with the town comprehensive plan. Being a good neighbor and the surrounding neighborhood in which you are situated will be more welcome. The operation and the enjoyment of guests should not be at the expense of the quality of life and amenity of those that already reside here. Your responsibility as a board is not solely to the applicants, the residents before you now who seek protections for our lifestyle, property values, and the rights to quiet enjoyment of our homes.
Thank you. David Roberts at 5 Scenic.
I just want to hand this out because it has a table in it, but I don't guess.
That'd be great. We can put this on the record, is that okay?
Yes.
Okay,
please,
sure.
please, please. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that. Sorry? I think we're.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Roberts, do you plan on reading this or do you want me to?
Yeah, no, I'll read it. It's, the main reason for giving it to you is there is a table in there that I think will be helpful to refer to.
Okay.
Thanks. So, I am in support of the redevelopment of the site, known as the Granary. However, I am concerned that the scope of the project far exceeds the size and the character of the site, and about the negative impact on the immediate homeowners as well as the greater community. My comments are not intended to be directed at the applicant per se, but at the need for restrictions to be placed on the forever use of the site. I've reviewed the applicant's updated master plan, and there have been some improvements since we went through the project. The original application included elements that were dangerous and substandard, for example, the proposed parking and towpath and the loading area around the road. The scope has also been reduced because the site is not large enough to accommodate the proposed uses and supporting amenities. These improvements have been as a result of public comments and the community involvement at town board meetings. It is for this reason that it is important that the planning board further consider the public comments and review all aspects of the site plan so that the project can further benefit from public input. Firstly, the applicant's land use attorney, Mike Moriello, in his letter to the planning board dated April 23rd, appears to suggest that the details of the project that have been discussed during the EEOD assessment by the town board should not be evaluated further by the planning board. However, this would deny the planning board the ability to do their job as required by the town code. The planning board still has to do its job, and what is clear in the town code is if the planning board deems there to be a substantial change to the application, the matter needs to be referred back to the town board as the lead agency. That's clear. The procedure was confirmed by the town supervisor in public hearings in the EEOD evaluation process. Furthermore, I'd argue that the planning board's specific skills and knowledge is a necessary part of the review, which is separate and supplementary to the town board process. Therefore, it is incumbent upon the planning board to do a full, thorough review of the project. Secondly, the use events is listed on the applicant's drawings and should be struck for the following reason. Events is not a use under the town code. Listing events as a use will allow an opening for the operator owner in the future to utilize the facility as an event space, which is not an intended use allowable under the EEOD. The town board explicitly stated that events are not allowed under the EEOD. A separate application would be required for that use. The square footage chart submitted by the applicant describes events as including weddings, reunions, retreats, etc. This terminology should be struck from the applicant submitted. Just to be clear, I mean, obviously, it's going to be a restaurant, and if someone wants to book out that restaurant for a wedding or something like that, that's under the use as a restaurant. What I am objecting to is the application of or using use as events as a use within this application. The proposed lease agreement for the use of 6 public car parking spaces places a burden on the town to maintain the entire parking lot to a higher standard than it has ever been maintained, thereby requiring the town of Rochester taxpayers to subsidize the private developers' car spaces that they did not want to build on their own land. The proposed consideration offered to the town is nominal, being a mere $100 annually for a 25% annual increase. There is actually sufficient space for this car space on the development site. It needs to be asked. I don't know the answer to this, but this is for all of us to consider. Should the town of Rochester taxpayers have to foot the bill for upgrading and maintaining the entire municipal parking lot to a standard set by the applicants, just because the applicant does not want to allocate the required additional space within their project or pay for 6 car spaces on their own or someone else's land? Fourthly, and probably most important, new information has been provided by the applicant which constitutes a substantial change. This additional information, setting out the square footage for each use, confirms the need for a 3-fold increase in the parking requirements for the restaurant, bar, cafe use. On this issue, and as I explained below, I refer you to my first and second comments above, which are all intertwined. The overdevelopment of this small site is exemplified by the inadequate parking proposed to support all the uses. This new information demands the scrutiny of the planning board because it increases the amount of parking required by the restaurant, bar, and cafe uses from 25 to 78 as calculated in compliance with the Town of Rochester Code. This information was not available to the town board as part of their review of the EEOG. Furthermore, it is clearly within the planning board's purview to review proposed uses and square footage at this stage of the applicant's process. Normally, the planning board may review schematic designs outlining preliminary floor plans to ensure that the development is
Sorry, I don't understand.
described. The applicant, when in front of the town board, previously asserted that the areas for each of the uses was unknown, so as to provide an alternative, much reduced calculation for restaurant car spaces. This calculation did not take into account cafe and bar uses or the staff car parking. By the Town of Rochester Code, the 3,914 square foot area requires 78 car parking. And if you look at the table below, you'll see that, and this is purely from the code, taking from the code. So each of the uses described, it's much clearer than actually what's in the site plan. And once again, it's this almost 4,000 square foot of the restaurant, bar, cafe, and it's a gross floor area, as you probably well know. There's also a couple other minor things. One is that they describe an art gallery, or it's listed as gallery space. It should really, the gallery should actually be, the use is really retail. And a gallery space would be classified as a public assembly, which would be a lot more space, another 35 spaces. There's also, because of the increased car parking, increased requirement for ADA spaces as well. The net result of inadequate parking associated with this development will be increased traffic congestion within and outside the site, as well as illegal parking alongside Towpath and County Road 27. All this within 100 yards of the existing firehouse. Once again, I just want to reiterate, this is a big change in what the applicant put in front of as part of this application. It wasn't part of what was presented to the town board. But even if the planning board doesn't see it as part of it, their responsibility to hand it back to the town board for their complete review. The site plan does, fifthly, the site plan does not show the utilities, in particular existing wells and septic systems on adjacent parcels, and that's required by the town of Rochester Code. The state regulations require there be a 200-foot separation between adjacent septic tank and leach fields and wells used for food service establishments. And as I've written here, the septic tank and leach field at 18 Towpath Road is less than 140 feet from the development's well, and the septic tank and leach field at 12 Towpath Road is less than 150 feet from the development's well. I just interested to know what the strategy is in terms of providing water to the correct standard. And I don't believe that the Department of Health waives this requirement. Sixthly, the town board explicitly determined the planning board should make decisions with regard to noise. It's a fundamental problem with the way noise is regulated by the town code. There is no baseline, but instead a mechanism whereby the noise of adjacent uses can be exponentially increased the allowable amount of noise. For example, one use can increase an area's ambient noise by 10 decibels. An adjacent use adds another 10 decibels to that established baseline. So what you get is a situation where 10 decibels is about 10 times the amount of energy to the ear, twice as much noise. You have one use, you have a second use, all of a sudden you have 4 times the amount of noise to the ear. We have a clear precedent in the town relating to the generation of amplified music immediately adjacent to a hamlet. In the case of the Crested Hen, it was determined that it was to the benefit, health, and well-being of the greater community, that there be no outside amplified noise allowed at any time. This precedent in the hamlet of Allegaville should apply to the hamlet of Ackroyd. It's good for the goose, should be good for the gander. Restriction was placed on the Crested Hen, even though it would only be 12 times a year. As it stands, the town would be allowing amplified noise 365 days a year in the hamlet. Thank you for your consideration of these issues. The development will have a significant and lasting effect on the hamlet. Buildings on this site are handsome and historically significant to our town. The site demands a sympathetic and restrained treatment in its proposed reuse. The purpose of my writing is to highlight issues that have not yet been addressed by the applicant and the planning board to ensure that the interests of everyone in the community are considered. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Rebecca Brainerd.
Hello,
Hi.
this is an opportunity for this board to protect the uniqueness of this area and for this applicant to come up with creative solutions to this project. To respect the neighbors, to respect the wildlife, to hire locally, to cars affect areas. So the parking, the traffic and idling. People tend to, when businesses happen, to idle outside. This is going to be a big issue that is going to impact our beautiful area. So I ask that any project brought before you all, it is your responsibility to come up with creative solutions that respect all of these different things I just mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you. Hudson Roditi, I hope I didn't ruin that. Close?
Yeah, well, you're sick of me yet.
Okay.
I'm reading on behalf of Hudson because he has COVID.
Okay.
Second. So I will just read this that he wrote.
Sure.
Um,
Would you rather just submit it to for the record or?
he did ask the
Absolutely, go ahead.
sorry.
No, that's okay.
Dear Planning Board, I'm the co-owner of 42 Grand Road, which is adjacent to the proposed granary development. I began living at 42 Grand Road in 1973 51 years ago when I was a child. Because my property is adjacent to the proposed development, I'm very concerned about how it will impact my family and my land, especially regarding utility plans and needs. Town rushes the planning of this development. Concerns related to wastewater, traffic and parking and noise are not addressed with the appropriate precautions, then my family and my property may be negatively impacted. As an immediate neighbour, I am especially concerned about this. When public hearings were held by the town board a year ago, some residents expressed support while others expressed concerns and some expressed mixed views. Responses were diverse. However, those who expressed support overwhelmingly recognised the validity of the concerns voiced by residents of adjacent properties. This neighbourliness really stood out to me at those meetings. Everyone, regardless of the side they took on the granary proposal, recognised that a project on this scale and at this location in the hamlet, with this number of immediate neighbours, had the potential to be very disruptive to adjacent neighbours. Speakers who supported the granary proposal made it their point to say that safeguarding immediate neighbours was of the utmost importance. Town should not lose sight of this. Nobody should be thrown under the bus, and a year ago, that meant proceeding with conditions and safeguards in place to provide guarantees to immediate neighbours. That should translate today into protections against these concerns, including noise. Current noise code is not sustainable or viable. A quick analysis indicates that background noise could increase by 10 decibels over the adjacent property lines without a code violation. Another source of noise in the near future could then legally produce noise 10 decibels louder than the new background level without a code violation. The result of these two changes would be an increase of 20 decibels, which is 100 times louder than the original, because the decibel scale is logarithmic. Neighbours immediately adjacent of the granary proposal need something real in the Department of the Noise Code that would protect them from what could well be chronic noise disruption. I urge the planning board today to go back to the spirit of empathy and good neighbourliness that animated this room a year ago and act in the spirit of those good town values to protect me and my immediate neighbours. Sincerely yours, Hudson Revere.
Thank you. You could submit that if you'd like, or to Jasmine, she'll put it in the record. Anthony Crump, I believe we received yours in writing already. Would you like to read it, or?
I've kind of modified it, so yes, I will.
Sure, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Anthony. My family and I live on 15 Granite Road, which is the old Creebury. We're one of the closest neighbours to the proposed Granary project. My wife and I have lived in the house since 2015. We share it with our 2 young children. In general, we're in support of the project and we're excited and inspired by the applicant's plans. They've assembled a great team who are working the best of luck with the project. We feel the applicants have been considerate and thoughtful in their approach, and generally we feel very positive about the project. As we are the closest neighbours, a lot of the issues I'm going to discuss relate specifically to us. Firstly, in the Creamery, our home was built on the OW rail line. The rail line ran directly down the side of our building until it was abandoned in 1957. Trains would pull up and load directly from the building. The gap between our home and the abandoned line is about 18 feet, and this forms the edge of our property. We provided photographs of public records that demonstrate where the rail line would have been in relation to our home. We have windows that run along the entire length of our building, looking into our living room, kitchen, and kids' room. The suggestion of turning the abandoned line into a public footpath has been a huge anxiety to us and our neighbour Marcia Gillick. Over the last 2 years, we've had many discussions and site visits with the town board, as well as the applicants and their architects. The former town supervisor Mike Baden, as well as the new supervisor Erin, both visited and both drew the same conclusion: that the damage done and the loss of privacy to us would be such an alternative should be banned. One option would be to run it along Granite Road, for which we would grant an easement for this along our property. The town board wrote the following resolution in the EEOD document, and I'm quoting from the document. Consideration of a petition requesting economic overlay zoning designation. This was resolution 80. The town board finds the O&W rail line bed lies on this property. However, the board is not seeking to continue the rail line through this parcel at this time, and notes any future consideration of such would require amendments in site plan. The current town board is exploring options along Granite Road with Ulster County. The town board further notes the applicant is not proposing a continuation of the rail line through the property with this application. This could be one of the reasons why the applicant does not want to grant the easement and why they instructed their attorney to push back on the request by the planning board. Their letter from their attorney was submitted to public record, and I'm going to quote from it now. It's a well-settled law that the planning board may not lawfully condition an administrative approval by requiring the grant of an easement over lands under private fee ownership in order to grant the public access to rail trail. Rail trail access is an issue the Open Space Institute and the Town of Rochester to discuss and ultimately address. As my client stated during an environmental review of the project, a cooperative accommodation may be made in the future if all interested parties can be satisfied. A petition was created by a member of the community and signed by 95 town residents in 2023, where a list of concerns were outlined, including the rail trail. Again, this was submitted to public record, and I'm going to quote from it. The letter listed a number of concerns, one of which related to the trail. Quote, the proposed new bike trail and public footpath disrupts existing amenity and adjoining residential properties when a less disruptive alternative has been identified. The results of many conversations and site visits show that the town board, the applicants and the town residents are all aligned on the subjects of rail trail. We're huge fans of the rail trail system and the work of the OSI. We want to help and see connect the line, and we appreciate all the benefits that come with it, but not at the expense of ruining the family home, especially when there are viable and less disruptive alternatives available. I hope you understand our concern when we are now seeing an easement being requested for the applicant. The septic. Now, the current application plans do not show our well location or our neighbours, Marsh and Givers. We are concerned that our wells have not been considered fully in the wastewater plans. Our well is close to around 100 feet from their proposed leach field, and it may also be downgraded from this field. Also, between our well and the proposed leach field is the old O&W canal. This canal fills with 3 feet of water after heavy rain, where it will remain for days. The New York State Department of Health Department requires, quoting, no component of any sewage system shall be constructed within 100 feet of a well, spring, reservoir, brook, or marsh, or any other permanent body of water. When system is located in coarse gravel or upgrade to a general drain to a well, the system should be at least 200 feet from the well. In light of this, we would like our wells added to the plans and further reassurances that the system meets the New York State Department of Health Department. Noise. At the town board meeting on the 10th of December 2023, Supervisor Baden said in discussion the board would limit the hours of outdoor amplified music from 10 p.m. on Fridays and Saturdays and 9 p.m. on Sunday through Thursday. This is what we understood to be the condition that was voted on and approved regarding outdoor amplified noise in the EEO zone change. The town debated this for nearly 1 hour before they voted on it. We are now seeing outdoor amplified noise cease at 11 p.m. on weekends, Friday through Sunday, and 11 p.m. on weekdays, Monday through Thursday. We are hoping this is a clerical error. We have 2 small children who go to bed at 8 p.m. Amplified noise at this time would have a huge impact on them and our quality of life. The guidelines for EEO are quite clear. I'm quoting from the EEO guidelines now. In determining whether to approve the application for the EEO district, the town board will consider whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighbourhood or a detriment to nearby property will be created by the creation of a district on the property. The town board were observing this when they made their noise conditions. We hope the planning board do also. Regarding noise mitigation, we would greatly appreciate sound barrier fencing and evergreen trees to help limit the noise impact on us. I hope this doesn't sound like we're complaining, we're not. We want this to work as much as anyone. We want to help and cooperate as much as we can. If anyone from the planning board or the applicants, or anyone present here tonight, everyone can stop by and see our place and discuss, we'd be happy to have them over.
Thank you. Karen Pardini?
Hi, I border the land that, the granary is on. And I wrote a short letter of support. But listening to everybody talk, I realized that, the part about music and acoustic and listening, we went through this in Woodstock a long time ago. And the results that we came out with were about negotiation and finding a way to make it happen. And it was about putting up trees, it was making barriers, it was looking at the project and looking at the land, how it laid within the community. And what came out of it was a great result. So I would suggest looking at the resolve here, looking at where does this music going to start? Where is the point of where the music is going to be? Is it going to be blasting all over? Or is it going to be contained? Because there's areas right by the granary that are in low ground, and there's areas that are on high ground. Now, if you put it in low ground, your decibels may be less. If you have trees around it, it would be less. So these are all things that I think are important when one is concerned about how sound is going to carry, where it is. If you compare it to the crested hen, for example, that is a huge field that expands and sound carries a lot. But if you put it into a small area that is surrounded by a lot of big trees, or you even have a covering over it, like a tent over it, you know, not a tent, but like a ceiling, a top over it, you automatically then contain sound. So I think that these resolves are things that we can look at, and instead of negating everything that is put out there that is negative, we need to look at what is the positive resolve that we can find that works with the community and works with everybody. And in terms of lighting, the same thing. There's a lot of lights out there that I'm sure they've looked at that are not polluting in the ways that some other light pollutions are. I mean, my home, my residence, even though I own land here, my residence, I deal with Mohawk Hotel. The hotel lighting situation sucks, but I deal with it, as does other people who live on the road, you know, on Clove Valley Road. We deal with that particular situation. But I realize in that negotiation and finding ways, and finding lighting, and finding ways to sound can work. So instead of saying no to all of this, let's figure out a way that possibly it can work, because we know that it's not going to be 365 days a year, that the sound is going to be outside. I mean, people aren't going to sit outside when it's like 10 degrees going like, show me the music. They're sitting still. It is a horrible thing to do when you're freezing. So, you know, I would think inside is a great place to have the music. And if there's a clerical error in timing, then so be it. That can totally be fixed. I think that the guys have really done a great job in thinking about how this is going to work for the community, the historical aspects of it. We all know that originally the quarry, they used to blast that quarry. I mean, the reason that quarry stopped, does anybody know why that quarry stopped?
Yes.
Yeah, right. Go ahead, tell them why.
Well, I had a stone as big as a Volkswagen come through my roof.
Exactly.
A rock came through the windshield of Dennis Warish's pickup truck. and he
Exactly.
took that road.
Exactly. Because they blasted and that tore this community apart. And so it was stopped. But that was, figure that out. I mean, that's crazy stuff, blasting, and it blows the windows out of people's homes and cars. We're talking about possibility of 10 decibels. We're talking about a way to make it happen in an area that is secluded and sequestered. So I support all of this because I think it can really work for the community. I hear everybody's feelings, and I think they're valid. Feelings are always valid, but there's always answers for them. And I think that if we work together, we can find great answers, because I know that the project is worthy of our support.
Thank you. Mike Bank?
Karen has said a lot of what I feel. I'd like to look at the positive parts of it and to make it work. We border the property more than anyone else will. We got over 1,000 feet that border it. I think it's going to increase the value of the property, it's done correctly. We have a restaurant, cafe. So when somebody wants to move to this area, wanted to buy the house, they have a local store, they can go to a cafe, they have a restaurant, used to be a restaurant right there. So I'm looking for the positive side of this, and I think it could be done correctly, and really, I trust Henry and Ren to make sure it satisfies everybody, to make sure it will be what the community wants. But as Karen pointed out, it was a quarry. Actually, DC wanted to have it open again. The reason is they say they'd rather have old quarries open rather than establish new quarries. But we don't want that to happen. You could have something else go in there, low-income housing, which might fit the needs of everybody better, maybe not. But I think trying to work with what they're doing, and I think it's zoned that way. I think what better place than in town to have a restaurant? Where else would you put it in this community? So anyway, I just wanted to echo Karen said, working it out and making it work correctly in town, it would be a benefit to the town and everybody in it. And that's how I feel about it.
Thank you. Bill Dagger? Dagger, thank you.
Hi, yes, I'm a 10-year resident of Compton, and while I don't border the property like a lot of the people here, I can speak from experience when it comes to sound and light pollution and how impactful and negative that is on property values and also just quality of life. For example, if you go to Arrowwood in the middle of the winter time, their music is playing, their lights are on. You can see this sort of like glow coming up from the property for miles around. I just like the board and the town board and the zoning board to just keep in mind that what your decision will do is kind of change the nature of the town, possibly for generations, and definitely for years to come. Whatever precedent you've set is going to, cause definitely a major impact. And I think protecting the rights of the existing property owners is probably the most important thing. We're excited if this is done, in a manner that, like I said, takes into consideration the folks who are already here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Jill Bressler?
Just echoing Bill, I think that what was just framed was a little weird to me because every single person that stood up asking for, consideration around parking, around sound, around light. Everybody said the same thing. We want this project. We're dying for this project. We need more places like this in our town. But we also feel really negatively about Arrowwood, for example, because when the ownership shifted to this single owner, he doesn't care about anybody that lives near him. And the sound is really loud. And do I want to see Los Lobos? Absolutely. But I have mixed feelings about spending money to go see them when I know that my experience is really adversely impacting all those neighbors that live in that valley. And this is a really small hamlet. And like I said, everybody here is in support of the grant. But what we're saying is we need controls over and checks over sound, over light, over the water. And we expect this board and the town board to take care of this.
Thank you. Katie Napoltarski?
Hi. First, I'd like to say that I am for the development of the granary. I really would like to see it come to fruition. The first concern that I have is about outdoor amplified sound. I spend about a quarter of my, I'm a retired teacher, I spent about a quarter of my time in Brooklyn. I have family. So I'm familiar with bars and venues and music and such there. Outdoor music is not allowed in New York City. It's not allowed, I'll put it up right here. No musical instruments or amplified sound unless authorized by the student activity permit. So it's not allowed outside. You have a lot of outdoor restaurants, of course, like cafes, and they are full and people are happy there and don't have to have music. It seems as if there's a formula for music, establishments play music. I think there's something about the more music, the louder the music, the more people drink, and the more there is for turnover. And it could be that that's part of the reason of really wanting to have the amplified sound. It's you know, wanting to profit. I mean, I can't assume the worst of the applicant, but that's a possibility. So I think it's really important to say, if this is something that's really necessary, will they do fine without it? I think that they will. I think that it wouldn't be 365 days a year, but it might be 200. I live down the road near Stone Hill, and even with 10 decibel, I might be able to, the bass, having heavy bass seems to be really popular. I might be able to feel that heavy bass all the way down the way, and certainly people who are right adjacent to it would. And having that 12 hours a day on top of you is not a way to live. And if this board can keep that from happening, it's not going to hurt this project so much, but it's the decent thing to do. And I'd also just like to say that there's buffeted lighting, that there's care really taken with that. I'm feeling that there will be. The other thing I'd like to add is that the town creates an effective and efficient enforcement process for this and for anything else in the town, that it's really visited, and that there are staffing for it, and also that there is a very clear, transparent, and easy process for people to make complaints and to see that there's quick, efficient look at the codes that are being violated, and that be visited and brought back to you. Thank you.
Thanks. Marcia Gibbon.
No, I'm sorry. I signed that, but I didn't know I thought it was.
That's okay. All good.
I have nothing.
Okay, that's all that we have received signups. I have some,
Just like they have one thing, I think.
Okay.
Not noise. I get what they're saying, everyone's. Just keep in mind that every single person in Atrium that borders that property runs a lawnmower. And that noise you hear every single day for many, many hours a day. There's no regulation there. It may not, it's just what happens in town. Nobody even thinks about it. But you're here.
I've received public comment from Rob Warner of 72 Bakertown Road. Lived here 39 years and spent summers here since the 50s. I watched the area decline. I'm briefing this. Over the past 15 or so years, we've seen more investment in the area, such as Saundersville Farm as a prime example, and Western Orchard, in addition to the Ackworth Market, which brings more activity to Main Street. We have the opportunity to have bring a complex to the hamlet that will employ locals and much needed vibrancy to town. As a result, I am in entire support of this investment of the group. I've received another one from Carolyn Farolito. As a taxpayer in the town of Rochester, I feel this is a fabulous opportunity for the town to have a new restaurant, cafe, and meeting place. I hope the planning board is as excited as I am. I've received another one. It's from Alex Human. Dear Planning Board of the Town of Rochester, I'm writing to express my strong support for the granary project and revitalization efforts of the town of Hamlet. Of Ackworth, as a 20-year resident, small business owner who deeply cares about the prosperity and vibrancy of our community, I believe that this project presents An incredible opportunity to breathe new life into a historic area and create a thriving community hub for residents and visitors alike. Granary project holds immense potential for the transformative Accord. Simplifying this a little. That's the owner of the Starlight Motel. We've received another one. I've already spoke. Bethany Ides and Aura Herdman, 12 Schoolhouse. My wife Aura and I are both engaged members of the community of Accord. We moved to the Hamlet 5 years ago, lived here full time, and put a lot of efforts in making this our home. You know, our neighbors, we check on them. On top of working full time, I volunteer at the food pantry. Oops. This was a long one. Being that our house is situated within 500 feet of the proposed granary project, we've been especially interested in both the overall vision and the details for management described by the project owners. When the property was first purchased, we were told by the owners that the project would benefit the neighborhood. We were told that there would be a cafe and bookstore where locals could meet. We were given personal assurances that the well-being of the community was top of mind for the developers. Since when we've learned that the granary will be aimed more at the more affluent clientele visiting our town, seeking high-end experiences. In the town board's meeting, we have heard the granary project owners despair to town, claiming our community is dismal and depressing. Thus, we ought to be grateful for the revitalization that they will be bringing. We do not find our community either. These developers claim that the site of unoccupied buildings are gloomy, but these buildings they own that were previously occupied and full of life not too long ago. We reject the idea that the community will be enhanced by the possibility of a handful of high-impact, high-stress, low-income jobs. But by the owner's own admission, these jobs will not come with health benefits or any kind of security. Most residents of the Hamlet will likely be not able to afford the offerings of the proposed project, and yet our lives will be impacted tremendously by the increased traffic noise. The Hamlet becomes less and less affordable. We are asking the planning board to take due time to give scrutiny to this proposal. You owe it to the people who already pay taxes, contribute to the community, double and triple check the plans and include adequate parking on site for all proposed activities and include allowances. I've received another one from Chase Brock and Rob Berman. They're the owners at the old train station at 9 Tobacco Road. We are heartily in support of the Active Granary project and our own project at 9 Tobacco Road. We've welcomed over 150 families on vacation to the Hamlet, which are more than 200 artists, musicians, and dancers. Creating more opportunity for space for arts, expression, community, and recreation would be a huge benefit to Accord and Ulster County, and the Accord Granary perfectly fits the bill. As a local resident ourselves for 15 years, we also recognize the need for dining options and social gatherings. I'm very excited about the aspects of the project. Ren, Henry, Vera, and the entire team have our full respect and confidence that they launch into this exciting venture. So those are the other ones that we've received for public comment. That's everyone who has signed up. Is there anybody here who else would like to speak that maybe has not had the opportunity? Mr. Martin, you have something to add to your original comment?
As I prefaced my remarks, I said enough is nice and too much is nasty. So again, we're dealing with scale and scope and size here. And I'd like to think that all of you went through English class and maybe even studied a little bit of parts of speech, like the preposition 2 and 4, which includes position, direction, or location. So I'd like you to think about what this project is going to do to the town and what it's going to do for the town. Let's not make any mistake. This project is not in the interest of just everyone who lives there. The project is designed to enrich a few at the expense of many. So please keep that in mind. Should those applicants like to buy my whole pigs, make me a nice offer with a couple of commas, and you'll have plenty of parking. Thank you.
Okay, board time. Start with Zorian.
I feel like we should walk the property and see that feeling where's the neighbors, where gonna be this event, this place. I feel like I would like to walk. Is
that it?
Okay. For now.
Okay. Rick?
I have quite a bit. If you want to leave me to last, or if you want to.
Sure, we'll come back. Peter?
Yeah, I was wondering about the concerns about proximity to septic and wells. Do we have drawings of that?
So our site plan requirement requires that our application that is in front of us outline their their well and septic. Does not require that we look at others, but we can have that conversation as to how that works. We'll have to see how our planner, how we want to attack that, but I think it's a valid comment.
I think it's, for adjacent properties, that is a concern that I would have about septic regarding.
Just locations.
Yeah,
Yeah,
locations.
definitely. Anne Marie?
I'm sorry, yeah.
No, just to that point, can I?
No.
Oh, not yet.
I know what it's like to live next to an event place that started out as a place for 24 people to come and drink. And now has grown like mad crazy. The lighting and the noise it's difficult to live with, but we're trying to come to some sort of negotiations. I don't know if you need to have amplified music outside over here. If there was some way you could keep, contain like the music inside, live music, I think that would be great. I grew up here, I went to high school up here. I like the idea of having the greenery in the project. But you have to listen to the neighbors because no one listened to me and I understand how they feel. And I wish they had, because now more complaints are coming in and, they wish that they had spoke out a little bit more. So take into consideration what they're saying, because obviously here, no one wants you to stop the project. They just want you to work with them and make it better. That's what I have to say. Just try to make it work better. And but music inside, I think, is a lot better than outside. We have enough outdoor music already, so.
Zach?
I agree with Peter on looking into the neighbors well and septic and the setbacks for those concerns and what the board has to say about the ambient noise outside. I don't think the applicant proposed live music on site. It's just quiet music through possibly Sonos speakers playing quiet dining music. So I think that we need to just further clarify that for the public, and that's all that I have to say.
Rick?
Yeah, I just want to reflect on well, first of all, the comments were great. The chair had asked that there be specific facts presented as opposed to what was being wanted. So congratulations to 99.9% of the speakers. They presented facts and some very important facts.
Very appreciated.
I want to reflect on something that we asked our planner to do when we knew this project was coming to the planning board, namely define what our role is as the planning board, since the town board handled it initially in terms of the EEO. And from his description of what it was that all responsibilities are, I took away plain vanilla that the town board was responsible primarily for accepting the project and doing seeker. And seeker, as we know, covers many things: noise, lighting, water, septic, the whole 9 yards. Our role is primarily site plan. And the site plan is, how does this get implemented in light of what the seeker determinations were? Now, in the EEO, the 75-page document that was produced, there were a series of what were called notice of determination for each of the seeker items. Impact on groundwater, impact on transportation, impact on noise. And those notices of determination, with the town board determining what it was that they wanted from the applicant in terms of each one of the seeker items. By the way, they made a negative declaration, but they did it with making many requirements of the applicant in terms of noise and lighting, many of the things we heard tonight. Our role is, how does that get implemented? So for example, and I don't remember what it said about noise. I thought it said there was not going to be any amplified noise, but it was going to be pipe music, and it had to meet certain requirements, had to be tested periodically. Let's take that one. Our responsibility is to say, well, yeah, that's good, but the noise is going to emanate right next to Mr. Martin's property. We could require barrier of some sort, ask the applicant to do that. And it's all those kinds of things that our responsibility is. So having said that, I have a couple of recommendations. Well, first of all, I'm surprised that we have at this point the difference between the hours of operation between what came to us versus what the town board said were the hours. And those are the hours. We can't change those. They can go back to the town board.
That's where I'm
those are the hours. Yeah. So I'm surprised with that one. what I'd like to see happen, we had so much good input from the public. 2 or 3 things. I'd like to see our planner reflect on the comments, particularly around noise and lighting, and reflect back to this board, hey, it was covered in the notice of determination, and here's what was required. So then when we make our site plan determination of what's needed, it's in light of that analysis of, hey, this might be a problem, guys, to a specific piece of property that's contiguous with the project. So I'd like to see our planner go through this in a great deal of detail and give us some advice, particularly around Mr. Martin's catch. And you did a wonderful job in going through this. And it concerns me that some of the square footage appears to have changed from the original that was presented in the EEO, or at least that's what's claimed, the square footage versus what came to us in the current package. So that's really important for our planner to say, yes, it did change, question mark, or it didn't change. So I need to know that, we need to know that. The issue of events, I remember reading the 75 pages. Events was not,
Was not listed.
well, first of all, it's not in the town code, that's correct, and it was not allowed.
Right.
All right, so if that's now back,
No, they're not proposing any.
okay, so that means that if it was referred to somewhere, then it's not allowed.
The applicant is not proposing any commercial events at this time.
So, and just like our planner, I'd like to hear from the applicant's, who's doing the work for the applicant, on many or all of the points that were made that are salient to what this planning board does. So somewhat like Zorian said, it's like, all right, where's the music gonna be played, and who are the property owners or properties around it? What are we gonna do, or what are they gonna do to mitigate that? So, you know, you can get ahead of that in terms of getting it done by simply going through each of the comments that were received. We have all the documents, and saying, and giving us an answer. We had that for a major project where the applicant's representative went through each of the comments in public hearing and said, not a problem, we took care of it, here's how we're gonna do it. Otherwise, this board is gonna literally have to do it, because there were some very factual and fact-based claims made that concerned me in terms of what this board had to do in implementing and allowing this project to be implemented on this site plan. Just so the public knows, we can't go back and redo the noise. That's not our role under the EEO. I may not like it, this board may not like it, what you may not like it, but under the EEO regulations that were implemented in the town code, this board has no responsibility for this project to do a noise study. That was done under seeker already, and so that's it. What we can do is
mitigate it.
what we can do is say, yeah, but this property is going to be severely impacted. The comment about, and I couldn't quite catch all the details, but the comment about the proposed septic system is going to be very close to some gentleman's well. It's like, well, even though the well is off the property, that's a problem. And we need to deal with that in whatever way is appropriate in terms of the site plan. So anyway, I think there's a lot of work to be done, both on the part of our planner, tearing this apart, the commentaries, and in terms of the applicant going through it and delivering to this board a document that says X, Y, Z in response to many of these things. This board is required to do that, given the detailed nature of many of the comments.
So let's get a couple of housekeeping things done. One, I'd like to keep the public hearing open.
I think that's.
Any objections to that? Okay.
No.
So we'll do that. We need to talk about the Ulster County Planning Board supermajority. We need to respond to them. The Ulster County Planning Board, based on my knowledge in error, required as a required modification that the rail trail access easement be granted and completed prior to this application being completed. That is a farce.
Well, it's illegal.
It's illegal. So we are not going to, the rail trail access, the applicant has already agreed in writing by their attorney that they will provide access when that time has come. That easement and access will be worked out with the town board. It has nothing to do with the planning board. That's something that you guys are gonna be working out with them, OSI, all of the involved partners at the time of that. So we need a supermajority to overrule the Ulster County Planning Board's decision for a required modification, which only makes sense.
And importantly, we're not gonna ask for the easement to be on the property.
That is
That's
correct.
what's actually illegal.
Right, we are not gonna ask for that easement to be granted on the property. So can I have a motion to, I'm just starting to check boxes here, that's all.
We're not eliminating the possibility that that could happen.
No, no, it's exactly the opposite. The applicant has already said, we are interested in doing that when the time comes. The town board's not ready to have the conversation. The applicant's not ready to have the conversation, but when that application or when that time has come, they're ready to sit down at the table and have that conversation.
And we're gonna put
In
it
our situation, we can't require that they do something that the town board isn't ready to require. So we need to just overturn that so that we can satisfy the county and move on from that modification.
So I'll make a motion
Okay.
to, we need a supermajority vote, make a motion to help me out here, Counselor.
Yep.
To override the Orange County Planning Board's.
Ulster County.
Ulster.
You've lived there too many years.
I lived there too many years, sorry.
Ulster County Planning Board's
Ulster County Planning
requires
Board's
modification.
Requirement to provide for the rail trail, an easement for the rail trail. With the stipulation that there be a condition in our findings that says that the applicant is open to the idea of discussing that option or maybe other options.
when the time comes.
When the time comes.
I have a motion for that.
I'll second.
I have a second from Zach. All in favor? I need a roll call vote, please. Want me to do
Chair
it?
Grasso,
Yes.
Member Jones,
Yes.
Member Jarvis,
Yes.
Member Maloney,
Yes.
Member Pinsky,
Yes.
Member Nelson,
Yes.
Ms. Lena Acting.
No. Okay, so that's a 6-0 vote. So the supermajority stands. We will get that letter back to the Ulster County Planning Board, so that's done. We've received the fire.
We gotta back up.
Okay.
I'm confused, and I'm sorry to jump in. The supermajority requirement is to approve the project in a manner or with conditions that contravene what UCPB is asking for.
Correct.
It comes into play when and if we approve the project, and it's related to the vote with which we approve the project. And what it really means in nuts and bolts, boiled down to the bottom, is that we can't approve the project with 4 votes like we would be able to do normally. We don't need, I mean, a resolution to declare something now is.
I have to have a resolution to respond to the Ulster County Planning Board.
The response to the Ulster County Planning Board comes after we approve the project. That's the law.
So you know what, maybe it should be included when you do the write-up of the final findings. Right, we should have the vote at that time, is what you're saying, not now. You know, when we do the findings, we approve the project, don't we?
If your intent is to approve the project despite the UCPB recommendations, the required modification, just do it. You'll need 5 votes.
Right, okay. We have to respond, I have to respond to them in writing within 30 days.
30 days after we approve it.
Right, not 30 days of when we received it.
Let it go.
Okay, moving on.
While he's doing that.
That's okay, yeah.
Should I make it? What about the items that I said?
No, not yet. Okay, fire, we've received the fire. Dave Church.
Dave knows off the top of his head. Dave
Okay.
says we gotta issue a final report to UCPB within 30 days of approval.
Okay, great. So we will do that at the end of our.
Or deny.
Or denial, and then we need
30
supermajority to
days
do it.
after registration.
You need supermajority
At the time of voting.
to approve the project if you approve it without the conditions that UCPB has required.
Perfect.
And then we gotta and then at the time, we need to report to them how we handled their modification.
Great.
Do we need to undo what we just voted on?
No,
that's fine.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I could too, I just want to add that we, just for the record, you know what I think, and then wrote to the board. Dennis Doyle is completely wrong. Can't require us to give an easement for property. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, understood.
And his requirement for a majority
Yeah, no,
vote is ridiculous too, and unconstitutional.
We're checking that
I just
box.
want to make
Yeah.
sure that we get that up.
That's
on
fine.
the record.
So, in addition, we've talked about fire. The fire guys are happy. That's checked off of our list. Homework for the applicant. Okay, here we go. We need your input on lighting and how you're going to mitigate the lighting that could potentially fall on someone else's property. Okay, we've talked about that a little bit. Greg is still working on that. Greg, do you have any questions on what we need on that? In concerns to lighting?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so. The noise, we're not gonna talk about noise tonight. We're gonna let you guys go home and think about it, get with your whole team and bring that back at the next meeting on what you guys want to do. You've heard the public, you've heard the board. It's in your hands on how you want to move forward. Okay, that's the noise concern.
Just a
Yep.
a question about that. I think what would be useful for where noise would be.
I don't even want to go that route because they might say, we're not going to do it, and then that's fine. Or if they say they are going to do it, then they need to give us additional details. Greg will review those details for the engineering aspect, and we'll go down that road as that time. If they just, hang on, if they decide to throw it out, there's nothing else to talk about.
Right.
If they decide to bring it back, then they need to show us the proof that it's going to work.
Okay, the reason why I'm asking is having been over there for fire.
Yep.
In the enclosed area, outside the granary building, sort of between the tall barn, if that's where they're having any sort of outside music, that would be very different than what it would be.
On the property line.
Yeah, so just.
Sure. And that needs to be, in my opinion, the applicant needs to provide a mitigation factor on what that's going to be. They might say the mitigation is we're going to have it here so that no neighbors are affected. Or we're going to have it on the property line and what do you want us to do? And then we can go. So before we talk about how detailed we want the noise, let them come back to us with what they want to do in their mitigation factor.
I think it would be real important, at least from my perspective, and I think from some of the what's now old board, is to be very clear where it's gonna be and what the distance is going to be to the contiguous property owners. And where it's less than optimum, provide a suggestion in terms of sound barrier.
Mitigation.
Get out in front of it, because from what I heard tonight, I'm gonna go through, I think the whole board's gonna go through fine tooth comb in terms of the site plan and how to mitigate what was approved by the town board in terms of the kind of sound, which we can't change.
Let's keep going here.
Can I add a clarification?
On what topic? Sound? Sure.
The sound, the applicant promised to conduct studies at certain stages of the project. That was town board roads. Now, but there is another aspect of it. To have noise source outdoor or indoor. So
Correct.
that's essentially they have to decide.
Yep, that, I don't want to hear about noise. Let them come back to us. They might say we're never going to have a radio on for the rest of our life and that we want to hear it. If not, I want to see their plan to fix it. Applicants, we need to know about the time of operation. It was brought up by the public. It was brought up in the EEO. I want to know what you guys plan to utilize, when you plan to operate, how long is the bar going to be open in the restaurant? What are those hours of operations going to look like? And when is the sound going to be played, if any, during that time and in those locations? So again, that's going to be homework for you guys. Dave Church, anything I missed on your notes that you followed up on? I know you've done a nice letter. I don't think there's anything else that I can think of.
Well, you'll ultimately have the big review about whether what they proposed for final approval is substantially
changed.
conformity with what they got approved by the town board.
And I don't think we're ready to do
That'll
that
be-
yet until
right.
we've seen.
Which may, until we work out some of these details, there's no point in going through that one
Yeah,
by one.
too early.
Which is dozens of pages,
Yep.
right? There was a question, I guess, about proximity and separation of well and septics, which with cooperating property owners, we could probably ban. But there is no database of everybody's well and septic in America, or Ulster County or town of Rochester. In fact, Dutchess County did that and had profound controversy over establishing that database. Property owners were freaked out that they were going to give the government this information they didn't already have. So to the extent that we can, because they're DOH approvals, we could try to find some of the wells and septics or with cooperation from the neighbors. But the question, I guess, the applicant is where you at with the DOH approval. You got it.
Submitted it weeks ago.
Okay, so it's been submitted. You don't have it back approval yet.
I'd give
You
it
got
to you
appro-
guys.
Oh.
This is the approval
By the Board of Health. Okay, that's good.
I'm submitting, and submitted.
So,
Yep.
I'm not sure what to say about if there's septic and wells approved.
Yeah, if the Board of Health approved it.
If we want to go through an exercise of seeing proximity just for the record, we could try to do that.
Okay, I think that the public made a valid point. Unfortunately, it's not really it's a seeker issue. It's not really necessarily a site plan.
Well, where is the septic system being planned?
Right.
So I think.
Where is their septic?
Yes.
Right, agreed, yes.
And it's, how far is it
From the opposing
So
well.
I like Dave's idea to make an attempt to get that information and to present it to this board.
Is that something that the Board of Health would look at, is the neighboring wells and septic?
Separation is not just on the property itself, but on neighboring properties for the health department. The problem is where to get the information. So they would probably go to their files and see what in the neighborhood they've approved. You know, some of these things, I live on a piece of property that I don't think any agencies approved, have been there 35 years. I don't think any agencies approved my well and septic for ever, let alone maybe 50 years. So I wouldn't be, there are gonna be people like that in the neighborhood. We could try.
I think it's worth a shot. Is that something you would do, or do we ask Greg to do that, or do we ask the applicant?
We can talk to them.
Greg?
I mean, the help, there should be an ability to know where the well is set, not necessarily the condition of the well.
Sure.
Within proximity of their. And I'd be surprised if the health department gets quiet.
I agree. I'm thinking that the health department, if they're gonna provide a permit, they probably have done that due diligence.
Right.
Should we clarify that?
That's where I'm
We
going.
also have DEC approval for our septic.
So I think what we'll do is, Dave, why don't you reach out to the Board of Health and see what level of detail they've done when they provided that permit?
Okay.
And if they just say, we provided the permit because it looked like a good application, then we need to hear that. If they say, oh no, we've went, tested and talked to the neighbors and blah, 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 let's see sort of how far that goes. Emery?
Why can't the owners concerned provide that information to the Sways species?
The neighboring owners?
The neighboring.
Because that would be a condition, and if they didn't do it, then
No, just, maybe they wanna just.
let's
volunteer.
contact Board of Health first and see where they go, because maybe they have a mitigating. Sure.
I mean, everyone should know where their well is and.
Understood. This isn't time for the public, so I'm sorry. That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, I just noting like with the noise question, there is, so through the several dozen page EEO approval, which includes a negative declaration and the findings of fact, there are at least probably 24 items where there's some discretion clearly stated that's still in the hands of the planning board, which include noise issues. And we're gonna have to go through those items.
Sure.
Once you agree that the plan in front of you is in conformity with what the town board approved, or if
Then we
not,
can go
you have
from
to send it back.
Yep.
With those items back. Then you can go through those items, and see what you want to do about each of them.
Yeah, we're not that far.
And you're not there yet.
Okay, the attorney comments we already talked about. So I think that we've talked about this for an hour and a half. That's enough for tonight.
This business about the square footage of some of the facilities. What was proposed to the town board is claimed it was different from what came.
We should have Dave Church
I want
review that.
Dave.
Yeah, good idea. Thank you. Dave, can you
I'd
just
like
speak at that?
Well, I know it's a lot of work, but Dave to look at the record.
Yes.
The recorded record, and pick up on those things where there's a claim, a factual claim.
How much square feet?
Some misstatement, error, whatever, and let them come back to this.
Agreed.
We did not change any.
That's okay. We're gonna let him review it and make sure that what you guys proposed originally is not something that has been altered.
Understood.
And we have to determine if that is a
I'm sorry, I
significant.
have to say this table is completely correct.
If we have to determine if the significant word significant
That's my table.
is
The
a
other
change.
table, well.
Sorry,
So,
we're moving on here.
no, right, moving
Okay.
on. So we're gonna discuss in future all those items that town board delegated to planning. board,
Correct.
right?
We're not that far yet. They got some
Right.
work to do.
Okay. Bunches of.
Of course. We're a long way to the end here. Okay. All right, guys, you're all set. You got your homework. We'll see you in, what month are we in? May? We'll see you in June. Mr. Morial, if you can provide us, in writing your findings of responses concerning time of operation and your finding on the, I think that was it, just so I can have that in writing.
I did the one, so get everything.
That'd be good.
The submittal date is,
The submittal date for May, for June, thank you, is the 27th of this month, so 2 exact weeks.
and the June meeting is.
June meeting's date is how about the 10th? Okay, guys, thank you very much. Thank you, appreciate it. Yeah, we'll take 5 minutes and we'll go on to the next one. If Bill Eggers is outside or here,
Right here.
send him on up.
Dave's point, Dave. Nothing that you're gonna hear from us will want to change.
Significant.
I don't
Make
want
that-
to go through.
Or if not.
Go through the 75 pages and multi-lines.
Yep. He's already done it once. Certainly wasn't the answer to that, but we need to come back to the finance. We can't have him do it, and then we have changes. We're putting the kernel, not his idea. Okay, guys, we're moving on. If you gotta take a quick bathroom break, we're gonna get started here. I'd say.
Not.
But there's some. Remember, bring it up in Orange County.
They still have to meet the sounds requirements of our 10.
Well, it is the same issue.
No, they can't request a study, they don't have a building to study. They don't have anything to study. Building, not building. It's required, it would be a condition of approval. Building, not building.
Exactly. What's water based?
You can't do a noise study on a building that doesn't exist.
And that's it.
No, they're all buildings. The buildings are just shells. They're not
It's like
Yep. Yep. That's correct, but right now they're not proposing.
They need to go in there.
Okay, we're gonna talk about this in the next meeting, okay? That's what I'm getting. The building doesn't exist, you know.
I don't know.
They're not proposing.
They're not proposing outdoor. And not to be outside.
They're not.
Trying to get.
Maybe.
Radio.
Maybe not. That's what I'm saying.
And I
Let
can.
them come back. If they come back and say they're not doing anything else, check the box. Leave it out. Well, I made that happen. I made that happen. Okay, next application, Bill, come on up. 2024, guys, we're gonna reconvene. I don't need you on this one, I need you on the next one. Right. 2024-6, which is Giordani and Bennett at 1832 Sampsonville Road. This is a continued application for a 2-lot subdivision of 56.69 acres. Bill, any changes to your previous outlays? We have maps that you can provide? We need to do seeker or short form on this, so we have the decision. We also have a public hearing.
I think they were consenting this, there were some changes to that.
Yeah, minimal. Is there any public that has entered to discuss the Giordani application at 1832 Sampsonville Road? I have nobody signed up yet. That's a good start. Okay. Here we go.
Oh, to the important people.
Okay, Bill, we ready? You guys ready? Yes. All right, here we go. Bill, any changes to your map?
No changes to the map itself.
We asked for some updates.
The requests that you had, the one thing that was actually requested was that we contact the highway department for the driveway. and we had Adam Dietz from the Fulton County Highway Department came out, looked at it, so it looks good to me. He provided a letter which I've sent in.
Great.
Saying that they're good on that. The only other thing that we've got, we're working on really is the health department approval. If that's I don't know if that would become a requirement of approval or not. We've got over 5 acres here, but that has been submitted. Plan has been completed and that has been submitted to the health department at this point.
Okay, yeah, that'll be a condition of our approval.
Yeah,
when we get
that's
it.
fine because we've already got it under. So.
Great. Anything from the board?
I have a question.
Quickly, yep.
Same question. I read the code and it says, there are parts of it.
Say that again?
The code says the name of municipality on the plan. The name of municipality, name of the owner of the record, and parcel address. So my question is, why is there no parcel address?
Parcel where?
Parcel.
No, it's from 125-12.3.
Sorry, I don't understand what you're asking for.
Our code, paragraph 125-12.3A. It says this, the plan should contain the following information: the name of the municipality, name of the owner of records, and parcel address. That's essentially what.
Oh, okay. So you want to know what the street address is on?
You're missing a street address?
The parcel address is missing.
All that for a street address?
Huh?
All that for a street address?
It's in the code.
Oh, I'm just, that's what you need, we need a street address. No, we need a street address. No problem. That was
Everything
easy.
else is-
Next. Okay, anybody else? Okay, let's do the public hearing. Anybody here for the public? Last chance. Public hearing open. Somebody give me a motion to close. Anne Marie, second by Zach. I need all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hey,
All in favor?
you gotta keep up with me here. All in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, Anne Marie, here we go. Public hearings. Okay, anybody lastly before we go over seeker and the decision?
All good?
Okay, here we go. Okay, Bill, will the proposed action create a material conflict of an adopted land use plan or zoning regulations? All at once?
No.
No, don't everybody wait, awake, you need a break? Coffee?
Yeah.
Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land? No. Will the proposed action impair the quality or character of the existing community? No. Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characters that cause the establishment of a CEA? NA? Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkways? No. Will the proposed action create an increase in the use of energy as it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? Will the proposed action impact existing public or private water supplies or public or private wastewater treatment utilities?
No.
Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architecture, or aesthetic resources?
No.
Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in natural resources?
No.
Will the proposed action result in an increase in potential erosion, flooding, or drainage?
No.
Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? Okay, so I need a motion to type this. Rick is my motion guy on that.
Make a motion to type the secret determination as negative.
Okay,
I'll second.
Zach, roll call vote, please.
Chair Grosso,
Yes.
Member Jones,
Yes.
Member Jarvis,
Yes.
Member Maloney,
Yes.
Member Pinsky,
Yes.
Member Nelson.
Yes. Okay, 6-0 on a negative declaration. Thank you. That's checking that box. I have a decision. Bill, getting you out of here early tonight, huh? Is that true? Oh, no, you're here later. Okay. All right. I want to get you off the hook too early now. About 2 more. Okay, here we go. Resolution, let me get one of them. Bill, you want one of these? Resolution to the Town of Raptor Planning Board minor subdivision approval for Peter and Amelia Giordani and Tricia Bennett, located at 1832 Sampsonville Road, a 56.69 acre parcel in an R5 zoning district. We are skipping to page number. I don't really want to read all that tonight, so we're going to go to page 3. How's that? Complexity approval. Well, it's the third page. Then how's that? The subdivision approval and associated conditions shall be binding upon the applicant and all successive owners of the land, so long as such use shall occur. This approval shall remain effective as an authorization to secure the required permits and establish the use for a maximum 1 year from this date of approval, unless the applicant shall have submitted written request and the planning board shall have adopted such resolution granting the extension, provided the applicant has submitted proof of having diligently pursued the implementation of the plans. Bill, the only thing I want to add is the Ulster County Department of Health. Septic approval, septic permit. Dave, can you add that to your list? Ulster County Department of Health, septic.
Specific conditions?
Yes, please. Okay, I have a motion for this.
I'll make a motion to approve this with that additional condition.
Rick, Zach, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Bill, record time.
Thank you.
I'm going to keep you second on the agenda going forward. How's that sound? Okay.
First would have been great. so
I
thank
hear you. I hear you. All righty, you are all set. We'll see you in a half hour. How's that?
Indeed, half an hour?
Maybe not. Okay, Nadine, 2023-725. This is a major subdivision in R5 district of Dignified Dwellings LLC. Nadine Carney is here as a representative with owner Steve Cohen and Jeremy Wells. Thank you. This is at TBD Rose Hill Road. This is a 4-lot subdivision. Board, if you remember, we asked Nadine for a slew of homework, including an ecological study, which she has provided from North Country. We asked for potentially a revised site plan based on the grading and concerns of a heat map, potentials for rock wall destruction, which we don't like to see. Update on disturbance. We checked the understanding of a critical environmental area that does not exist, so that has been taken, sort of moved on from that. So Nadine, why don't you give us the skinny on where you're at, and then we can go from there.
Sure, if you have hard copies of these.
Come on.
So, here's a couple of notes.
Give me the office all around.
Is
So-
there any changes made to the map?
Yes, there are.
Maps
So-
and this is coming.
Based on comments we received during the planning board meeting and from Dave Church, which I'd like to go through as
Yep,
well.
we're gonna give we'll give Dave that time in a minute.
So based on the comments from the planning board and looking at the road realignment to avoid disturbance of some stone walls, we did revise the road layout as much as possible. We still need the switchbacks because of the grades, but on the initial approach, we made sure that the stone walls were shown on there, and we brought the road back a bit to avoid two of the stone walls as much as possible. So we do still have the problem of the stone walls on the site, but so on sheet 2, there's the stationing. So you'll notice around station 600 that was brought into the property more to avoid that stone wall there. And then up at the cul-de-sac between lots 1 and 2, we brought that over basically to the left a little to avoid that stone wall as much as possible. So even though the right-of-way line is on it, the road construction wouldn't have anything like that. So we have changes. Also on these plans, based on the ecological study that was done, in the wetlands indication, there's wetlands indicated on the site along the southerly bound. There's Article 4 wetlands, and as you move north to the site, before you get to lot 2 and 3, there's some Army Corps wetlands, and along the Blythe Brook on the very north property line, there's some DEC wetlands. The DEC wetlands along the 100-foot buffer is indicated on the plan. So those are the two significant updates to the plans.
Okay.
What date should be on the new map in the adjustments?
Revised 4/26.
We have all that.
Oh, you don't have hard copies?
What's the date on the map? Alina?
Well, 20. I have a hard copy here if you'd like to look.
I
at
have
it.
revised 4/26/24.
Online.
I'm looking in the folder. I don't.
I'm looking at the one I'm going to
These
the
are
Friday.
Sorry.
Let me see. Okay, no, it says 4/26. I see. it.
Oh, online. I think that these hard copies are incorrect. Yes, I did send a PDF. I thought it was the one, but.
We're using the PDF then. We're using the PDF.
I.
Sorry.
Yeah, I remember these.
Keep going, Nadine.
So, again, so the.
She didn't drop them off. It was an accident. We're moving on. Use the
Correct
folder.
method.
Use that one you got there.
That's revised.
Online.
Online.
With the map of this sort, do we need on the computers?
It's.
You want me to pull it up on there bigger?
We need more maps. Nadine, what, the color coding for the slopes? Did you just?
Yep, there's a legend on that. So the darker color, the darker orange or 15% more. Everything else is pretty much under that. There's 10 and 15, and then there's less than 10.
Nadine, give us the skinning on your ecological report findings.
Yeah, so, so there's a couple things that were indicated through the EAF initially. One was forest habitat, which primarily, in speaking to the field person, was hemlock, hardwoods, and yellow birch. So there are other trees on here. There's some red maples and other things, but they were not as prevalent as the hemlock that was located. Also, one other item was a fern, the Appalachian shoestring fern, which they have indicated that there is potential habitat for, but they did their review in the recent weeks, so that's not the growing season. So they will be making an additional return site visit, because the growing season for that is between May and September. And with the weather that we've been having and cold weather, they've been waiting to. So, and I know that we have to do a site visit, so we'll talk about that as well.
Good.
But, so the habitat is there for it, but they did not actually see any evidence of it. There was also no, sign of any of the bats that were listed. However, there is potential roosting habitat for that, so they make a recommendation for time of year tree clearing, just like most subdivisions between October and March. And then with the wetlands, the only area that we are proposing disturbance at all is the road crossing. Actually, it's the shared driveway crossing between lots 3 and 4. And due to the minimal impact there, the project will require application to the Army Corps for a nationwide permit. But at this time, there is no proposed disturbance of any DEC wetlands or the 100-foot buffer. So there is no requirement for application to the DEC.
on your map, you don't have a cul-de-sac at the end. Is that a mistake or did you not? you don't have
No,
one?
so there is a cul-de-sac where we're proposing the private road end
Okay.
at lots 1 and 2.
Yep.
We're proposing a cul-de-sac at that location. And then it's going to be a shared driveway, down to lots 3 and 4.
Okay.
So that'll need, a shared driveway.
What about fire pull-offs?
If it's required, that will be shown on there.
What do you mean if?
It depends on the length and then also the access at the homes, if there's ample turnaround at that and at those locations.
All right.
So those specific details need to be worked out. I mean, I feel like we're still, obviously in sketch plan.
Yeah,
So,
so
yeah.
let's talk about the sketch plan.
Yeah.
So, well, let me back up a second. So we have some involved people here first. Wetlands, I'd like to get this to Bruce Barber. We have an ecological study that was done. We'll have our wetlands guy take a look at it.
I'd like us to, obviously look at it, look at the study. The study that was done by the applicant is a factual is a statement of fact.
Sure.
I want Bruce to give us an interpretation
Okay.
Of that.
Okay, so that's number one. Number two,
Just to
Yep.
clarify, just so, I can keep our consultant in the
Sure.
loop. So currently, the request is to submit this report to Bruce and have Bruce evaluate the report that's been done.
interpret it.
Okay.
Yep. And then bring us back our findings.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about the next step.
Well, if there's a site visit,
He wants to walk.
Well, let's see, I want him to interpret what was submitted first. He might say, I don't need to walk it. And then if he needs to walk it or we have a next step, let's
right,
see
we
what
need
it,
to coordinate.
we need to figure that out. Right now, I just want him to look at it and bring us back to the board his next steps, if any.
Okay.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
The next is I'd like to get Greg. Greg, thanks for saying. Glad you did. I'd like to get Greg involved to review the, one, the switchbacks, and two, the engineering of the grade. This property has a significant amount of terrain. So like to just look at that terrain and how that is going to be leveled out, moved, transitioned, and where we go with that.
So I think right now, what we submitted, is basically the layout. Don't think I've included the
Heat map?
profile.
Okay.
No, I mean, because we have an existing conditions and we have a proposed profile as well.
Okay.
So that is something that should be submitted for right
Sure.
back to look at.
That's fine.
I know we have accomplished having, I think the maximum grade is right around 12%. So that we won't be able to tell that from.
Are you anticipating a lot of cutting and filling, blasting?
No,
None whatsoever?
no, there is some cutting and some filling. It's pretty equal through the site, which will wrap back around to one of the EAF questions. But so there are some areas that do require cut, some areas that do require fill, but it's very balanced on the site.
So great, the most important thing there is what the impact is gonna be on this site. Obviously.
Agreed.
How much more disturbance? And there's no blasting.
No blasting.
Okay, so that's that.
So also, I mean,
Go ahead.
can we have the opportunity to submit that profile?
Sure.
Otherwise it's kind of.
Can you get it to me like by Friday?
Maybe.
Because we have 2 weeks from today in order to get your information. If you're going to resubmit anything for changes, your submittal window is
Yeah.
closed. So I'd like to get it to Greg so that he can get it at least back to you reasonably timed. If not, it's just going to have to wait, which is
Yeah,
fine.
no,
too.
I do have a preliminary
Okay.
one drafted.
Let's
so-
get Greg whatever you have, and he can at least start and ask questions.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Next, we need to talk to Dave Church. So Dave, I'm going to call on you in a second, but I'd like to schedule a site visit for this location. Are we ready to do the following? One, are we ready to walk it where you have like items staked out, houses, septic, wells? Two, do you have staked out where the driveway is going to propose so we can follow that trail? And do you need more time to do so? If so, that's fine.
Yeah, so, there's definitely, we can put flags up. I mean,
Okay.
it's all relative to the soil test holes that were done and
Sure.
are evident on the site. And there was some, clearing done for, a temporary access to the site. So primarily the road is obvious, and then in the lower area where there's no clearing or disturbance, on the existing conditions plan, you can see that there's an inactive Woods Road there, and our road follows that to some extent. So that's evident on the site, that when we're out there, you can say, okay, this is where we're at.
So the town notified me that there was a stop work order placed on this location?
Yes, so, because if you remember, we made this application late last year.
Right.
And we were in front of the board in, January. So before we made that application, obviously there was a moratorium on.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, so there was some clearing done in, some anticipation that they may just be
One site.
filled in one.
Sure, okay. makes
So
sense.
there has been some there, it may not match exactly what's proposed, and obviously final road will have to be constructed as approved by the.
Sure.
town, But
That's fine.
there's some.
Okay, so you want us to schedule a site visit for this month? You're not ready to do it?
We're okay with that if the board
Well, so
is,
what-
or are you looking to have any of the
No, what we have
consultant
found,
comments back?
what we have found from the board is that the earlier we do a site visit, the board has the ability to understand the project more. So rather than making all of these changes of what we're gonna do now, and then go visit the site and have 40 more changes later, I'd rather go to look at the site tomorrow and then have the opportunity to come back next month and go, okay,
Yeah,
we need to
all the
move,
changes
change, change.
Are very current and visible, so that,
All
now's a good time.
ways where the houses,
We
the
can,
driveways.
Right, we want-
all should be there.
We want driveway, septic, and home locations.
not a problem, not a problem.
Yes.
I looked on parcel viewer and I saw that it's already showing up as a road there. Is there a road put in there yet?
It's like a woods road that was previously existing, and then they did some cutting to potentially have the opportunity for an existing home that they were gonna put in.
I don't know how current that parcel viewer is.
It shows Hidden View Lane.
No, it's past that. So Peter, the property goes past that road.
But that's the entrance off of Rose Hill Road.
Yeah.
So that road is in there?
So there's a road at the south end of this property, Frankel Road.
Yeah.
Which doesn't actually kind of access this property. But so Frankel Road is there, but there is only a partial driveway that comes off of Rose Hill Road into this property.
So Peter, I drove
before
there.
the ferry.
You take Rose Hill all the way to the end and it stops. You see an old chimney that was there from an old house. You hang a left and you go up where that driveway started,
Yeah.
where it goes in maybe 1,000 feet and then you can see where it stopped. So that's where we would go and walk. That's where the start of the property is. Frankel Road is before where the.
No, I understand. I was just curious because it looks like it's I don't know what the scale is on this
Can I look?
for Hidden View Lane. It looks like it goes in a third of the property.
Yeah, that's just a rough in,
Could have been a woods road.
yeah, just a rough in, something there.
It's not a town road, that's for sure.
No, I
Yeah,
know-
and
I
you
know,
know
but
what,
it's-
you know what that comes from too, because we did apply for the road name.
Okay.
So, they may have mapped that off of proposed road that we submitted.
Is
for the
that your
road
plan,
name.
Steve, to call that road that name?
What was in, what?
Hidden.
Hidden View.
Is that what it was? Hidden View?
Yeah, we,
I think so, okay.
We're not.
yes. I'm gonna say
I
it.
remember actually getting
So
something back.
it's funny you say that, Peter,
That's-
because on DeJager, when they proposed that application, they put the road right through there on parcel view. It was like,
Yeah.
we haven't even
So
approved it yet.
I think that's
Yeah.
actually what happened now that I'm looking at that, because I didn't get anything back from the assessor, but we did submit for the road name, so that's what happened. Yeah.
Okay, good.
So that's just a paper road.
All right, so let's talk about dates for a site visit.
Yeah.
Is everybody ready to have that conversation? Okay. That means a calendar.
Mark, I have a one question about the plan later.
Let's get a
Yeah,
date.
and I have some comments to go over too, based on.
How about Friday, the 31st?
Okay.
Friday, May 31st. There would be 2 times that we would go, 2 different, we do an hour for each portion of the board. Is that okay?
Starting, I'm gonna be going for like 3 weeks.
Oh, then you're out.
So
I'm going the 29th.
Okay. Oh, lordy. Okay, let's keep going to June.
But no.
No, let's do it soon.
Before. Yeah. why not?
Okay, do it sooner
Okay, how about the 24th?
for me.
May 24th, can you do that?
that work for you?
That is Memorial Day weekend.
Stick help me out on this since we're in June.
Understood. Zorian, the 24th? Okay.
Does it have to
Peter?
be a Friday?
For me, it does, yeah. Why, are you off on that day?
I am not.
Well, there you go. Anne Marie?
Memorial weekend, I don't think.
Okay, you know what? How about this Friday, the 17th? Here we go. Start with Peter this time. Peter,
I think I can do that.
okay, Anne Marie.
For
Okay,
what?
you and Rick are out.
It's just Fridays are really bad.
Okay, let's go to Thursday.
What about Monday?
I can't do grievance day. Sorry, I have to be on that board as well.
I cannot do 16.
All right, how about the 22nd? Wednesday, the 22nd. Nadine. Zorian.
What time do we think?
Well, we just gotta get a date first.
Well, what time? Yeah.
Well, we do.
Is the 22nd available?
Yeah.
Great. Rick, okay, we're getting somewhere. Peter, good. Anne Marie? Yes in the morning?
Yes.
If it's in the morning.
Okay, great. Morning on the 22nd. I have 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. Okay, so I have 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. Hang on, we can only go a certain amount of.
Well, we could do one morning and then one later. No?
Let's just do it. We want to go there one time. Rick, can you do 10 o'clock?
Rather do 9.
Okay, Rick at 9. Who else had to do 9?
How many board members
3.
are allowed?
Anne Marie had to do 9.
Zach.
Zach had to do
I'll
9.
do 10.
Okay, Zach will do 10. Zorian? Zorian is at 9.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Can I meet her
By herself.
by herself? and-
No, you're a non-voting member. You can go with any one of us.
Yeah.
9 or 10.
No, on another day.
No, 9 or 10.
I can't, my bed.
Okay, that's okay. You're not on this application anyway, so that's gonna be okay. I will have to go at 10. And Peter is at 10. Okay,
Gonna be at Sochi?
what?
Cindy.
Cindy, we will have to figure out how we're gonna handle that because we have 3 on each, so we will potentially schedule another one. Maybe I'll see if she's even available.
Gonna be 8 Sochi?
8:30?
Yes, I have to be in Sagatuck.
Well, if you walk it at 9 and you're done.
Sorry, you said 9 and now you say you can't do 9. What, can you do it or not?
I can do
At
9.
9 o'clock. If you have to leave early, that's fine. Okay, great. Dave Church, would you like to attend any of them? And if so, which one?
Sure, that, we both.
Okay, how about 9 o'clock, Dave Church? David Gordon, you don't have to come. Greg, do you want to come? I don't think so. I didn't think you want to drive all the way up. Okay,
Beautiful site.
so May 15th, that's in 2 days.
No,
22nd,
22nd.
May
Okay,
22nd, you got it?
It's been a long day.
Oof, you have no idea. Okay, I will get this email out and make sure you know what time to be there so we're not in violation of open meetings law.
Should we schedule a rain date?
No rain dates. You go in the rain. We did rain on the shop. Go back there and rain. All right,
I did how.
so that's a site visit.
Drive-wise?
Sorry, it's in your
10 minutes?
backyard. It's in your backyard. It's 5 minets from you.
Yeah, it's off of Home Hall.
Do we need muck boots and machetes or we good?
No, it's a fairly, there's just not under roof like, DJ or.
All right, we're at 8:30, so we're gonna keep the clock moving here on this. Do you have anything else for us?
To go over?
Do you, yes. Before
Yes.
Dave Church gets started.
I do have some things for Dave Church,
So-
if you want him to go through.
I'm gonna have
every
him start.
item.
Do you have anything before he starts?
No, I can go
Okay.
through.
Dave, you're up.
Oh, well, the recent, so you got the memo from DEC, which had 8 items.
Yep.
I think Nadine, this handout seems to address most of them.
Yes, from North Country, yes.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, just a quick glance.
Yeah.
So I don't even know if we have to go over those.
No, like the habitat, the species, the everything is in North Country.
Floodplain,
Yes,
um,
wetlands.
right. Unusual DEC writes such a letter. I'd like to see if they're doing that for all the thousands of applications happening on a
Like
given.
you're saying they actually did something?
They wrote a deep pointed memo on a minor subdivision.
Wow.
It was
Yeah.
surprising. It'll be interesting to see if we get more of these.
Probably not.
But when you hired, maybe they felt it was a bio, maybe they felt it was a bio.
The,
There's a lot of changes going on.
The substantive
Unfortunately, they
question, I
didn't say that
guess,
in
is
their
on the wetland. So my understanding is that that scale, you have to know, the nationwide permit is essentially granted. If you do meet certain standards, right? You have to notify the Army Corps, and they have to confirm that, right?
Right, so
How does that work at this point?
So North Country Ecological will make that submission with their report, with our mapping, we provided them, specific wetland mapping that they'll include. They show the area that's going to be disturbed, they show, what's disturbing it, they show we're putting a culvert. So they send all our plans in with this information and, basically file for that.
So filing, it's not.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that
Notice
they
only.
file the joint
Yeah.
permit no matter what. I think they file the joint permit, but then it just comes back because it's well under a tenth of an acre. So,
Right.
Yeah,
Yes, because my experience in some other jurisdictions is the one guy doing this isn't in a rush to respond to such filings.
I will tell you that we
So,
have
in
had
fact, he's been
time out.
dismissive of the need to do that.
Yeah.
Have you found that?
Yes, in fact, there was another application that we had wetlands review done years ago for a different owner. And then we were kind of revamping the application, but it was the same disturbance. And we resubmitted it, obviously for the new owner and to reapply. Again, it was under a tenth of an acre. And we did not hear anything. So we were working with North Country on that, and North Country sent an email like, listen, it's been 45 days. We're assuming, you're done and this and that. And they did respond saying, yes, we understand, and that's fine. So one way or another, once the time frame is up, North Country follows up also just to say, like, listen, your time's up. That was
Right,
it.
could you
No
put
more
something,
comment.
right?
Yeah.
So the board just needs to be aware of this. Just getting response back from Army Corps
Is lackluster.
can take a while.
Yep.
If it comes at all, I
Right.
think in some settings,
Right.
right?
Yeah, so it might be, that it times out.
Okay.
Okay.
What else?
My other key question is the board comfortable in not seeking a conservation design option?
So that's my question. Is the applicant interested in providing one?
No.
You can't, your code does not obligate a requirement.
We're asking if they're offering.
If they're offering.
Yeah, this
That was
site
the question too.
doesn't lend itself for cluster type development and or even large areas of conservation. Will there be conservation notations or easements and drainage easement protections on sensitive rock? Definitely, there will be. But we are not pursuing this as a conservation easement or a conservation subdivision.
So just because I know you've dealt with this, just to be clear, a cluster, as it's commonly called, or conservation design subdivision, doesn't mean you have to cram all the lots over one corner of the property.
Yeah.
It gives the planning board the authority to vary setback and lot size requirements if it's meeting certain conservation goals. So those could be minor variances. The question is there some lot adjustments or layout adjustments? Maybe this is for your analysis ultimately, that avoids or lessens some of these impacts, including, can you just avoid that wetland?
Yeah, so we have looked at this pretty extensively, obviously before we even make a sketch plan application. And we do some investigation on the sites with response to health department requirements and test hole evaluations throughout, just to see, where does it make sense to build. Walking this property, the board will see the slopes when you come in. It's you're going up a knoll and you're coming down a knoll, and some areas are, as you can see by the orange color on the plan, are kind of steep. And then when we get into another area where it gets to a plateau, there's other things going on because we're at the base of this steep slope. So there is some drainage channels. There are some rock outcrops that we're obviously not going to be building on. So we try to look for the most effective places to put the homes on this site. It was the applicant's intent to have a minimum of 4 homes. It is very close to 40 acres. And to be able to give property owners larger parcels of land to own with, they have some nice views or, you know, nice, views from the top of the mountain and then nice views from the bottom of the site as well to the stream areas. So I think walking the site will show that. I think we're at 500th of a disturbance for the driveway crossing, which we were very conservative by showing the disturbance right out to the 50-foot, which I don't think we're gonna need that. Because we're in such a preliminary stage and we did some preliminary final grading, that the disturbance will probably actually be less. But at least we know that this is the most disturbance that we're gonna have based on this proposal and what we're showing there. So, you know, if some house sites can be shifted a little bit, they probably could be. I mean, I feel like we've kept them pretty close to the roads.
So the question was from our planner to the board, whether we're satisfied and want to ask for conservation subdivision. So I'm not satisfied with the amount of roadway and the amount, just from looking at it. But I want to wait until I actually walk it and see it. I want to wait till I hear from Greg. I want to wait till I hear from Bruce Barner. And then in the process of doing the secret, this long form, we may determine that there is, in our view, and it's our view and along with our experts, that there's a significant amount of impact on this property, on the environment, that we do not just ask if you want to do it, we require to mitigate those things on the secret. We require that there be a change in terms of the whole concept. So I'm leaving that out there as a possibility. I'm not gonna.
I need to see it too. I
Debate
agree.
it now. I want to see it and I want to get input from our experts. Is that fair?
Dave, is that?
Dave,
yes,
because
absolutely.
you pointed out that there was 1 or 2 sections of the application, the secret application, that were not filled out or needed to be filled out differently. Those need to be addressed.
I'd like to address those.
Yeah, that's been corrected.
Okay. So, Dave, do you have a response to my comment?
No, that makes perfect sense to go see the site first.
Okay. All right, keep going, Dave.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Nadine?
Quick question, I'm sorry.
No, hang on. Go ahead, Nadine.
No, sorry, you can ask this question.
We're not to board time yet, so hold your question.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not to board time yet.
Okay, so in the comments, under seeker, so, for D2A.
Yep.
That we do check the box no regarding the excavation there, because it is not the intent to remove material from the site for the excavation that's required for this. So that.
Meaning you're not hauling it off the site.
Yeah.
Got it.
And D2Q, it says needs to be completed, but that is for commercial, industrial, or recreational uses only. So that does not need to be completed for this residential development. E2O on page 12, that talks about the features that basically this ecological study addresses, that we just submitted and that we've just been discussing. Then that continues onto the next page about common fieldstones and things like that. So we have revised the layout to address those comments. That's been submitted. And then under the private road and driveway, the layout, obviously, we do have the ecological survey now. We do show that there is one crossing of the Army Corps wetlands. So that's shown on the plan. It's discussed in the report of findings. That's included there. I would like to talk about the suggestion of access from Frankel Road. Because of the information that we have now from the ecological, which we never even considered that to begin with, but, they've indicated that there's Army Corps wetlands along that southern boundary. So it's really not feasible to have access there. That
I
just
agree.
promotes additional crossing of wetlands.
Okay.
So we have the Nexus Town Highway Superintendent, which we will continue to keep in the loop. We have spoken to them. Once we have, more advanced plans and details, we will obviously keep them in the loop and submit that to them. Health Department, we have been working with them. Of course, that's a condition of the approval.
Yep.
But I think those were the big things that, you know, we took a look at and addressed as much as feasible. And
How about a swim?
so again, we're very conceptual.
You have it on your radar that you need.
We will need, right now, there is not disturbance over 5 acres.
Okay.
So this application will require a basic SWIP
Yep.
for erosion control only.
Good.
Not post stormwater control. And we are definitely happy to do that once we know that this is.
Yeah, don't do
the plan that
it
we're
yet
going
because you'll have to do it twice. So that's fine. Okay. All right, so we're gonna go to the board quickly and then we're gonna move on. So board member time. Keep in mind that we still have to talk about ecological with Bruce Barber. Greg still has to do his review. Dave's gonna update his review. So there's still a lot of things moving parts. We still have to do a site visit. It's too early for public hearing. It's too early for seeker. So all of those things outstanding. I'll start with Zorian.
On the site plans, any reason, buffer is not shown related to, wetlands? Why there is no buffer?
So the 100-foot buffer related to the state wetlands is shown. As you know, the Army Corps does not require a buffer, so we have not included that on the plan at this time.
Okay. Anything else? Not yet? Okay, Rick?
No, I.
We have a lot to do,
before,
so.
We got a lot to do. I
Good.
want to see what the
Zach,
experts.
Emery,
See what else we have?
good, Peter?
Yeah, my big concern is crossing the wetlands.
Good, okay. So we will talk about this more on the 22nd. I encourage you to be on time and be prepared. Bring,
We'll walk right where we're gonna cross.
right,
So you
bring
have-
your notebook so you can take notes because it's not an opens meeting. So if you want to make notes to bring back to that next meeting, Rick, make sure you bring your notebook to take notes so you can bring those notes back.
We'll have a map there.
Nadine will provide a
Yeah,
map. She
yeah,
will be
sure.
there. Steve, will you be present or
Yeah.
Jeremy? Both?
Yeah.
Sure, okay. Okay, that's good enough for this one now?
So let me just ask, you know, and I apologize, I
Sure.
really thought in my head that I dropped off hard copy, so I
Yep.
apologize. Does anybody want a hard copy of what with the April 26th right now?
No, please bring it
I
at
can bring it to the meeting.
the meeting.
You can keep that one that I.
Yeah,
But bring a copy for everybody at the meeting and not a monstrosity. Bring one that we can actually hold up.
immediate.
I
Sure.
will, and I will circulate. I'll revise again, at least just to get the preliminary profile on there.
So send me what you want me to send to Bruce and get Greg something teed up to him by the end of the week. Unless I'm just gonna send that to Bruce otherwise.
You could send this so he can get going on
Yep.
that, and then once we do the profile, you can send that too if
Sure.
you want, but.
We need escrow.
What do you need for escrow?
Do you really wanna know? Steve?
Yeah. How much?
You bring me $5,000? Okay, thank you.
Sure.
That was very clear.
Just like,
Sure.
Steve's a negotiating kind of guy. I wasn't expecting a count.
I'm too tired right now.
You can bring that to Jasmine just anytime before our next meeting. Okay. Okay, see you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right.
Thank you.
No. Moving on, where's
Yeah.
Bill? We're gonna get you before it's bedtime too, it looks like. Okay, board, we're gonna fly through this fast. So here we go. Bill is here. Are you guys ready to move on? Okay, for the board, just to update the board, Bill brought this application before us as a lot line. The owners have changed hands since then. Bill was required by the town to come back and provide a new application with the same map. He has since done so. The goal of this bill quickly is to just convey 0.3 acres from one neighbor, from them to the neighbor that we originally talked about, which is from Ridgeview Realty to Faso. Thank you, Bill, for providing the accurate map. My goal tonight is to hopefully nobody has any questions and set the public hearing, and then we can go from there. Does that sound good? Unless you have anything else.
Yeah.
Great. We'll start with
I
Emery.
just wanted to ask, nothing's changed from the last time.
Nothing has
Thank you.
changed. The good thing about this one is we approved this Veritas Villa map. Everything was fine. As similar to the next application that's on our agenda, they're just shifting a lot line because the buyer or the seller or the previous owner made an agreement with someone and said, hey, can we do this? So no change to the map. It's exactly what we wanted. I figured you're good. Peter, I assume you're good?
That was my.
Rick's good. Zorian, you're good? Good. I'm good as well. So can I have a motion to set the public hearing for the next meeting?
I'll make a motion to the public hearing for the next meeting.
A second by Peter. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Bill, we'll see you at the next meeting for a Ridgeview public hearing and decision.
Hearing, so will be earlier in the agenda.
How about first? Okay. Okay, you're all set. Thank you. Mr. Fink and Bob James, we're hoping to do the same thing with you. Here we go. 2024-14, a minor subdivision at 64 Rock Hill. Folks, you all remember this site as well. Bob and Mike, we walked this site. They changed a very small parcel. We are giving a portion of the property from lot 3 to lot 4. Bob, quickly, how much is that land you're giving?
Let's see, it is, 1.3 acres.
1.3 minus to lot 3 and adding to lot 4?
No, minus from lot 4, adding to lot.
Minus from 4, adding to 3. Okay. You also have asked, thank you for doing that in writing, by the way, a waiver to waive the public hearing, which I think is a great way to read the code and utilize our code. So good work of doing that. I am totally fine with that now that you've provided the waiver. Board time, quickly, as we're moving this along nice and smoothly, all we're doing is adding 1.3 from 4 to 3. Mr. Fink has asked nicely to waive the public hearing, which I don't have any arguments with. Going around the table, Peter, any concerns?
You said from 4 to 3 or 3 to 4?
4 to 3. So minus 4, add to 3. Good? Peter, you're all set?
Yeah.
Okay, Emery,
I'm fine, thank you.
Zach, Rick?
What was the reason for doing it?
The buyer covets the rocks that are on that section.
Covets the rocks.
Yes, he loves those rocks. You would like,
Me too.
I would
I'd
do
like
the
them in
same.
my backyard.
yeah, you can come get one before.
Let's see Bob down.
Yeah, right. Rick, any other concerns? Zorian?
Flat bedrock. It is a flat bedrock. It's white granite, likes it.
Zorian?
Yes.
I already did. You're good? Okay. Anybody opposed to the waiver of the public hearing?
No.
Okay, can I have a motion to accept the waiver as provided by the applicant?
I make a motion.
I have Zorian. I have Zach, second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Unfortunately, I don't have a decision for you. So I will need to see you next meeting, but it will be second in line because I have a public hearing ahead of you.
So what does that mean for the?
I will give you a decision at the next meeting and you'll be all set.
Okay. Great.
Good.
Thank you.
Review, so now we're on wildlands. Waiver. Second. Okay, here we go. RV and Associates 2024-15, a special use permit in a business district. This is for Shane Ricks' property at the corner of 209 and Medicahonks. Representative is Jared Rizzi with Labella. The applicant is proposing a 3,000 square foot gas station with a 1,400 square foot apartment above it. This is in a FEMA flood location in an AD overlay district. Applicants will let you get set up and then you can give us a brief overview of where we're at, what we did, what we talked about in our pre-meeting. And then we'll go from there if that sounds good.
Yeah. Hold on.
Thank you for providing the hardy board and the colors, but we don't want all that. You can take it back. It's your responsibility to tell us what color you're going to make the building. We don't want to pick it for you. So just so you know, we're going to give you those items back, but thank you for providing them. I know some towns want those.
We like earth tones.
We like earth tone, but we'll let you guys pick.
In terms of gas stations. The colors that they chose, we like. Whatever they were.
Yeah, there's a couple, so you can do some drive-bys. I mean, we don't want to dictate what color you're gonna be. We want you to make your proposal and show us your rendering, so, but
We don't like.
yeah, rather than the other way around.
Thank you.
Cause I'd have it looking like a barn, so. All right, so, you guys wanna give us a 30-second elevator speech?
Sure. Good evening. My name is Christopher Lupine with Mobile Associates. With me, I'm Jared Rizzi from Mobile Associates. We're representing the applicant Gasland Petroleum. Gasland Petroleum is situated in New Paltz, New York. They own and operate approximately 19 stations. They not only is owner and operator of these stations, they're also a provider of gasoline. This particular project here, as you're aware, and eloquently stated, is a 3,300 square foot convenience store with an associated apartment above it on the second floor. It's a 16.6 acre site at the intersection of 209 and Medicon Road. Access to the site is proposed along 209 and also along the municipal drive here as well. The parking for the site, if we had 17 parking spaces, we have 14 in the front and 3 in the back, and there'll be a total of 6 pumps for the project site. 4, which would be premium unleaded and super unleaded, and then we would have 2 separate diesel pumps on the side for any tractor trailers or box trucks. I failed to indicate that the project itself is within the business district. We are the entire site's open within the aquifer protection zone. The site with the overall disturbance of approximately 2.6 acres, which we provided on our preliminary plans, would require a stormwater pollution prevention plan. Will also require approval from the New York State DOT for access onto their state highway. I would like to note there are no recognized wetlands or streams on the property. We've also done our review with DEC and U.S. Fish and Wildlife. The only there are no DEC listed threatened and endangered species on the project site. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife has indicated that there's for 3 different types of bats in the area. As you're aware, looking at the site, there's no trees on the site in the vicinity of the development, so bats are not a concern for this particular project. There is a floodplain, so the floodplain is on the eastern portion of our property. There is no disturbance for full development within that flood. With regard to the, we talked a little bit about the architecture before, and go into that as well. But one of the things with regard to the trees, we usually like to look at a site and find its natural vegetation, and with particular tree, that's sort of an inspiration if you want to work your site around. In this particular case, we don't have that. So on our landscaping plan that we prepared, we've tried to get, I wouldn't say ambitious, but we really tried to align most of the site with a variety of different trees. We think that that's coming of the area. I do understand from the planner's comments about the triangle at the intersection. We can certainly look at some of the proposed trees here, but we just think it calls for additional trees along there. Put a tremendous amount along. It's not necessarily for, some people do it for runoff reduction reasons, associated with stormwater, we're just trying to adjust up with the run of the site. I'm gonna let Jared talk a little bit about the utilities, and then I'll jump off and give you a quick elevator speech on the architecture, and then we'll open up the comments.
Okay.
So the project is proposing to make use of an on-site subsurface sewage disposal system and an on-site well that will meet Ulster County Department of Health standards. some preliminary soil testing was performed on site to determine that the proposed location for this system had suitable soil for a septic system. And the project is proposing to make use of a combination of hydrodynamic separators and bioretention areas for stormwater treatment in order to meet water quality volume and runoff reduction volume requirements. All impervious areas will be directed towards stormwater treatment areas. Following treatment, the stormwater will be directed to a proposed on-site detention pond for attenuation purposes.
Shown from our site here, the approximate locations of where our septic disposal system.
Yep.
will be located. We are meeting the 100-foot setback to a detention pond in this area. And in the western portion of the site is where we're gonna look to locate our runoff reduction water quality bioretention areas. Once again, trying to provide building landscaping within those features as well. And we're just trying to provide some additional screening for the overall site. Regards to the architecture, we had given you a vast assortment of collection of different materials that are being proposed. You know, the hardy board, they just got the entire board, but the intent, as it's listed on the plans, is to use a pearl gray color. And they're using a combination of pearl gray for the hardy board siding. They are going to have a Eldorado stone along the kind of the first floor layer along the frontage. If you go through the other elevations, but I provide them as well.
That's okay.
There is going to be some bronze accents in terms of the window cladding and also the metal roofing along the frontage of the windows and the walls. Right here. I think from the architectural standpoint, they're looking for some warmer colors here. They weren't trying to make it overwhelming, and they felt like this is the right balance, energy and calmness on this particular site with all the green, basically lawn surrounding it, and we think it blends in with the adjoining storage facility to the north of us and to the rink to the west, and without having a pronounced effect upon the church that's to the east. I know there was some concerns raised about noise during construction and its impact on the church. I do want to point out that construction will be taking place between probably 7:30 and 5 during regular work week hours.
Not the weekend.
Not the weekend.
So you're fine on that.
And I don't think the noise is going to be any more impactful than what the current bus garage and riding along 209 is. You know, in terms of some screening that was brought up, what I'd like to do is I'd like the opportunity perhaps to contact is speak to the representatives of the church themselves. I think it'd be presumptuous of us just to put up a fence, but I'd rather get their input as a neighbor as to what they may seek out in terms of some screening for the site. And we would do that due diligence if we could just get a need from the board.
We don't have that contact info, but we can make contact potentially through the building department to see if they have it.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah. Okay, you're all set otherwise? Yeah. Okay, great. So a couple things come out to mind, and then I'm gonna let Dave Church take it from here with his findings, then we'll go to board time.
Before you start, I just want to clarify for the board and for the record, which I didn't think to do when we first started this, is my real estate company is selling this land that the gas land is going on.
Yep.
I am not selling it. I'm not benefiting financially for it. I just want to state for the record.
Thank you.
Not-
Okay. So the Aquifer Protection Overlay District, okay, let's talk about that. So, have you done the town code requirements in regards to a type 1 action and how that?
So we looked at the county
mapping, and the county did not have the entire site.
Sure.
Then the aquifer protection zone, they only had a portion of it.
So anything within aquifer protection requires
There's a
type one.
There's a type one
So
action.
just recognize we have to send this out to be lead agency, you know, there's a little bit more minutia, I'll use that word today.
Yeah.
On the whole who's gonna be lead agency conversation, number one. You want me to finish or you wanna finish? You're gonna cut me off every application.
Sorry, but there is a conflict information about aquifer. Our county doesn't show aquifer where the station is.
Correct.
And the map of the town shows.
Does, correct.
So just give it.
Yeah, no, we've already checked that box.
It's in the aquifer.
It's in the aquifer protection, it's a type one action, we've gotta send it up to lead agency, here we go.
Those are two different things. With the county maps as an aquifer is from a lot different database. This is a zoning designation.
Right.
It's
The town zoning.
that the chairman's talking about.
Yeah.
The county also identifies it as an aquifer protection area as well. That's kind of what we got.
Sure. Now, you're in a flood zone also, FEMA floodplain.
Yes.
A portion, obviously what you're not disturbing, but
Correct.
you're in there. So we gotta go, as we talked about in our pre-meeting, you know, we need 100 foot from the highest water mark. We need to make sure that's outlined. You did a good job on your site plan, so just checking that box, that's all. Okay, Dave, why don't you take it away with your findings? You guys have a copy of Dave's findings? So we'll go through those line by line and we'll let.
So
Sure.
we discussed secret type one, it's because of the nature of the use.
Yep.
It's, clearly listed as, this type of use in the aquifer protection zone, type one action. So you have to do coordinated review, circulate for lead agency, see what happens 30 days later. I had a question about the apartment above. Sounds like a great idea, but nowhere in the code do you even discuss, let alone define what an apartment is.
I know.
We do allow a one family dwell.
Yeah, so let's stop right there. Is this gonna be one apartment?
One.
Go ahead.
So does the board want to consider the apartment
As a
over the
single
business
family dwelling.
a single family dwelling?
I
Which is-
had that conversation with
which
the
is
code enforcement
defined-
officer.
Which is typically defined as a detached residence. But I'm not hung up on it.
I'm not either. So I had a conversation with the code enforcement officer in regards to, we don't define it. And he said, well, one dwelling, one apartment sounds good to me. So the single family dwelling is how he looked into that situation.
Well, then that's policy then, right?
I haven't seen it on any other application, so I don't know.
Okay. All right.
I'm fine with it.
Me too, yeah.
Okay, there's, the code requires a triangle where the town and the state road meet.
Yep.
Where nothing above 30 inches can be.
Correct.
So you're gonna, now this board can waive certain things. But we're gonna have that discussion.
Yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll eliminate the trees, but we'll have some sort of low level landscaping in that particular area.
So we have our landscaping, we have Greg here as our engineer. He'll be reviewing your landscaping plan that you submit. He obviously would catch that as well. And then Rick, thankfully, is on our board, who is, in my opinion, a landscaping genius. And he will make sure that the items that you are proposing are, what do we call that? What's the word?
Native.
Native, and he will ensure that if you're missing one or would like to see another one, we will get that on the map. So I'm not worried about landscaping at all, as long as it meets Greg and Dave's requirements, we're good. And of course, Rick's approval, stamp. What else, Dave?
All right, so 14017G regards access to routes 209 and 4455.
We're not on 4455.
We're on 209.
209, yes. Well, I'm with you.
G1.
Yep.
No track shall be provided direct access to Route 4455 or 209.
Yep.
If adequate alternate access can be provided by any other road, frontage, or parallel access drive.
Mhm.
So you got frontage and access on a town road.
On a town road.
What do you want to do?
Well, so similar to skate time, we have an exit that exits, that goes in off of 209 and is an exit on 209. Granted, it's going in the same direction. So if you're going south on 209, you can access into skate time off of 209, or you can egress skate time and go south on 209. I think that this situation should be similar to that, as long as you are going south in direction, that should be fine. But if you're gonna plan to go north, we should use Medicahonks Road, which is the
So
town.
no lefts
So no lefts
on,
on 209,
209.
which is exactly how skate time is.
okay.
We should literally mirror skate time's layout where the access would be right turn in, right turn out. Or if you're gonna go left on 209, you need to use Medicahonks Road.
I agree.
That's what code says, we should stick with that and keep going. Any objections on your guys? The only reason that is because Department of Transportation could then potentially have a light that needed to be put in down the road, and then now we have to get other people involved. So the town code would supersede that. We would want to stick with town code because it's been precedent. I don't think your owner would have an issue that nobody can go left, and if they did, they would just have to use the other access. Which gives better sight lines, actually, anyway.
I think with regards to getting it right in, right out, I think they can look at that.
Okay.
Obviously, they want the right out, so people can continue to the west.
Exactly. Now, on the skate time property, which is the adjacent property across the street, one of the reasons that was done is because the sight distance coming over that hill, when you pull out to make a left, it's just like the Boyce Mill exit. It's really bad. So we want to keep conformity there, I think. So Dave, that's a good point. We'll stick with that. So
Look at our point both ways.
I need you to update the map to show no lefts. Okay,
On 209,
on 209 from the 209.
on
exit.
or off 209.
So, with regards to the access on 209, would you like us to incorporate some sort of a mountable island so that?
Exactly. I would honestly take a ride by skate time and see the island that they put in, and let's duplicate it exactly what they have.
So let me just answer this.
Sure.
So going north on 209, we're not gonna allow a left to the gas station or 209.
You cannot turn out of the gas station and go left. That is correct.
Or turning.
We're not turning in.
You can turn in, yes.
From the going north, you can turn left to go in.
No.
No, you have to use Medicahonks Road.
West.
No, going north.
If you're going east, you're saying, right?
Going east.
North is Kingston,
North, south.
east, northeast, sure, Zorian, north.
The
that
other
way.
way.
Yeah. If you're coming from Ellenville to Kingston, the only way you can access the gas station would be Medicahonks Road. Okay,
I just want to make sure.
Yep.
On the same page.
right.
Right in, right out only,
Right in, right out only.
no left turns in.
No left turns in. You want to go in, you need to use Medicahonks Road to go in. Okay,
Make sure.
that's okay, good. Dave, keep going.
All right, we're just gonna have to settle, we're just gonna keep talking about what the parking requirements.
Sure.
Because you got mixed uses. You've got dedicated spaces in the back, right, for, what is it, 3 of them for an apartment and an
We have
employee?
three in the,
I don't know.
here for.
It's America, people have more cars than residents in their apartments. So in there, I assume there's gonna be more than one employee, so that,
Typically, they have 2 employees at a time
Okay.
in a facility. The intent was this is a 1-bedroom apartment.
So you're saying a single car would be utilized?
The single car would be there. We.
I mean, it's-
Can we add another space?
I think that you would probably benefit to adding.
Certainly, could add another space, we're just trying to limit our.
I mean, you got plenty of pavement, but, how many dedicated spaces? Because we've got a standard of 1 space per 175 square feet of commercial uses, but 1 space per 50 square feet of a restaurant.
Yeah.
And there's no convenience store defined. So is the convenience store.
I like the idea of 4 dedicated, 2 for employee, 2 for the apartment. And then the remainder,
And
even
what
if
do
it
you wanna
was,
call?
even if it was
They're
16.
serving food in there.
We are, but it's.
Is it gonna be one of these Dunkin',
No, it's not. a
Subway,
Donuts.
Dunkin'?
It's, no, right now it's just pure delicatessen.
What do the other ones do?
There's no flagship.
I mean,
Most of them are going with grab and go is a
Okay.
large part of their program
Okay.
now. That it's pre-made sandwiches, you pick it up. Will they have the ability to make sandwiches there? Oh, they will.
Okay.
But if you look at a lot of gas stations / convenience stores, the grab go concept is one that's becoming prevalent. Or predominant, I'm sorry, amongst all the stations, and I'd say you're probably looking at about a 60-40 split. 60% of people go with the grab and go. And you get 40% just like you would a regular delicatessen that weight. You know, from a restaurant perspective, we don't have servers here, like you don't order and we can bring your food to you. It's a limited menu for what they prepare behind the
The
counter.
person who's running the register is also making your sandwich.
Well, no, they'll have separate people making your sandwich then, because obviously you don't want to hit the money.
Okay.
Someone's food, but it's not a wide variety like you can get at like a McDonald's or something like that.
Dave?
Then you proactively talked about the buffer screening to the church property. Since the truck filling and movement is on the church side of the property, the board should probably talk about some screening or buffering. That there's some decent land there.
Yeah, to
Right.
be honest,
But it's, I mean, it could be disturbing.
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't totally understand the convenience store thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got two brand new ones on 209 right down the road. don't we?
Yes.
I don't understand the whole marketing thing. So how many of these can the world survive with? But since the truck movement is concentrated on this church side of the property, it might make some sense to discuss some kind of screening or buffering there. And talking to the church, a representative of the church, it seems like a good idea.
And one of the reasons I want to talk to the church was one of the questions was, would you prefer a fence along your property line? As
Right.
opposed to a
Landscape.
distance away, or would you prefer landscaping on your property line as opposed to 250 feet away from your property?
Sure.
What would be your preference? You're our neighbor.
Right.
Let's see what you'd like to say. And based upon that, then we would come back to the input board.
Right, but you do have, I forgot the number, but you've got over 300 feet,
Correct.
right, from the proposed pavement to the church property.
Yeah, and the question I want to ask them,
Where do they want it?
where do you want it? You want
Right.
it here, or do you want it closer? I mean, would you prefer a fence closer to you? What is your preference?
Right.
You know,
That's good. We'll go with whatever they recommend or whatever they request. I'm fine with that. Good. Otherwise, you're all set? Okay, we'll need to have our engineer. Greg, you're still here? I thought you went home already. Thanks. We'll have to have Greg take a look at this, any concerns with renderings and obviously the landscape lighting that's gonna potentially, be proposed. We are a dark sky compliant town. I know that your applicant is also in favor of that, so we appreciate that. We're gonna need to see a signage plan. We have a very strict policy concerning how much signage you can have in the town. It's an aggregate of square footage, so take a look at our code and bring us your proposal on where those signs are gonna go, are they gonna be illuminated, how, obviously, you're gonna market your gas prices, so how that's going to look. We'd like to see that on your next submittal, if you could do that.
is there more? That was a question.
Sure.
More detail that's required than what we provided.
We just need a detail as to the total aggregate of how much signage you're proposing. So if each, like the monument sign is absolutely perfect, that's very similar to other ones that we've done. But we need a total aggregate of how much marketing you're gonna do. Is there gonna be any, a name on the building of what it's gonna be? Is it gonna be Joe Schmo's Market? All that aggregate is all included in our total. So we just need a table that maybe shows each sign and that total aggregate square.
All right, we'll summarize all, we had presented on our elevations here,
Yep.
all the size of the flagship callouts plus our sign here.
Yeah,
up front. And
it's beautiful. I'm not opposed to it. I think it's great. I just want to make sure we meet the total
Point
requirement.
of clarification, I understand if I communicated to my client, it's a total, including your site signage of 100 square
That's
feet.
correct.
What's the hours of operation?
Yeah, so that's the next thing we're gonna look at is, on your submittal, we'll wanna see Monday through Sunday, how many hours are you operating? Open and close times of those days. Is the pump's gonna be available 24/7, but the inside's gonna be open, 7 to 7. I'm just using regular examples. So we'll need to see that on your submittal, which you can just write a narrative to us on. That'll go back to Dave. Greg will look at lighting and signage and renderings, make sure that meets our town compliance. Anything else on your side before we go to the board member?
No, I think it's covered.
Okay, we'll start with Zorian.
Can I go to the
Sure.
traffic? I have gotten,
Yep, traffic?
I want to bring us to your attention, the traffic in Netherlands campus.
Yep.
How huge truck going this way.
Yep.
And now I'm going here, making a left turn.
Yep.
I have to wait before the truck passing by, so it will generate.
Right.
backup.
That road, Metacahonks, also handles all of the campers going in and out for the campground. Some of them are 10 feet, some of them are 70. So that same.
Needs to be taken into consideration.
Yep.
Even, whatever, state or county say about turn nine, but maybe you have two entries from turn nine, so it has to be analyzed, thoroughly analyzed.
Okay. Anything else?
Right, yes.
Good.
All right, I did some measurements on Google Map. So currently, we have a 3 gas station within 3.6 miles currently. The proposed gas station would be within 0.9 miles of the existing station on Queens Highway and Route 209, and 1.5 miles from Sanoka Station at Whitfield Road and 209.
Yep.
This is just orientation. Effective traffic on Metacahonks Road, I already brought it up. Now, for the gas station with Dunkin' Donuts on 209, we ask for electrical vehicle charging.
Now's the time to talk about it.
Huh?
Now's the time to talk about it.
So why don't we ask charging station on this?
Sure. So a previous gas station that's about 2 miles down the road, which is a brand new station. We asked for EV charging stations to be secluded at a location that was on site within the parking lot, which were dedicated to just EV parking spots. It did not go within your total of the aggregate of spots. So we asked for 3 stations there.
Yes.
I think that the same proposal would be here for the applicant to take into consideration that neighboring gas stations are offering this. We would like to see that here as well.
And another sort, we have a 3 gas station, gonna be 4th gas station. So for the benefit of the community, what about adding farm stand at this station?
What?
Farm stand.
What about it?
2 other farm stands, create some kind of structure for farm stand. To real benefit for the community, because otherwise.
We can't require him to put a farm stand.
Well.
And there's no moratorium on gas stations. So if he wants to do one, here we are.
We're asking for electrical vehicle.
Well, because we've asked that elsewhere. We haven't asked for a farm stand. I think that's a little,
well, it's really, people will go there and use gas, otherwise.
Okay, what else do you have? Okay, this is Rick.
No, nothing right now.
Nothing yet? Okay.
Where do you're out of New Paltz, right?
Yes.
So do you have, where's your existing gas station so I can take a look at?
You just did one where? Rhinebeck?
Is that such a tool?
There's a few, the most recently built ones, are on Route 376 in Wappingers. There is one.
You have 116, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at the most recently one built.
Anything here in Ulster?
Yeah. When you go off of the Mid Hudson Bridge and you're going northbound, there is a Sunoco with a Dunkin' Donuts at that location.
Oh, the corner, yeah, at the corner where you go down to the bridge.
On the right.
Oh, that's nice. I know what you're talking about.
On Ohioville Road
Yep.
in New Paltz, there's that existing gas station there, and
Right.
there's that new building behind it.
Yep.
That's their office that they just built.
Oh, wow.
There's also, Greg can attest to, he's.
That's enough. I know where the one over in
New Paltz, the Highlanders. Nice.
I mean, bus station, is that gas?
That is not gas.
That's okay. Rick, any other questions?
No, it's already pointed out the amount of traffic on the cross. Because we're limiting the left-hand turn.
Sure.
He's right.
I mean, it's code.
There's gonna be a lot of traffic there. And that hill.
So we can send it to New York State Department of Transportation.
I think we should.
Okay.
Well, I think we have to, right?
Oh, yeah. It was going anyway. That was on my list. Okay, Zach? We're pressed for time here,
Yeah,
folks.
traffic will keep in mind, and then there's a sign on the parcel of land already for the campground, is that staying and will that tie into the
Yeah, so no, that sign's been taken down.
It's
down?
Yeah, it's been down.
Oh, okay, then never mind.
Okay, Anne Marie,
I have a couple.
great.
All right, so,
There's no moratorium on gas stations.
we do have 2 gas stations within 3 minutes, so, which I think is a little redundant to have another one. In the church, there is an active preschool program for children. Active, meaning parents is the only affordable preschool they have, so at this.
5 days a week.
5 days a week. They also have a Sunday school for the kids and on Sunday. So they're always active. There's always something going on 7 days a week at that place. It's to the point where they have so many kids that the children parents are parking in the bus garage and the local constable walks them across 209 and they stop. They stop all the traffic. So that's one. And it is a very active church. We also have the bus garage. We also have people going into the storage center. At this time of year, they're going round the clock in there. I know they're not supposed to be in the evening, but they go there anyway. We then have a residential community up the road on the left-hand side. Their children after school get dropped off with the late bus, not the regular bus, on 209, and they walk up because that's what they do. I did it too, 100 years ago. There's also a campground up the road. Now, when the campground has these giant vehicles going up, sometimes, not sometimes, every year, you'll see them from the top of the campground going all the way down to 209, sometimes filling up the entire skate time facility.
Staging.
Right, so when that happens, it's difficult to come down Medicons Road, but it's even more difficult for a fire truck or a police department to get up there when they need to go. They just can't go around the back road of Whitfield if somebody is in need of help. So we're talking thousands of people just, maybe 2,000 or 3,000 people just in that area alone. Now, if you go up Middlehook Road, there's another event facility there. If you go up the road further, there's a deli. If you do, then they have the Irish camp, which is about 500 people. Then you have Arrowwood, which that backs up all the way down, sometimes to Millhook, and that's on Medicahans Road. And then sometimes if people don't want to go up Whitfield Road, they'll go up Medicahans Road to go down to Lower Whitfield, to go up to Whitfield, to go to the racetrack on the weekend. So what does this mean? It means and I don't want to forget Westwind now. And skate time, which is also a popcorn facility. This, it's just not, I personally don't think it's gonna be safe for people. We're gonna eventually have to have stoplights, which is gonna back up traffic all the way to Accord and to Kerhansen. You also have the vehicle traffic. There has to be a study done because right now, just to get onto Medicahans Road at any hour of the day, especially on the weekend, you cannot get on there. Could be a 15-minute wait. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's just too dangerous, especially with the kids getting dropped off. And I'm also worried about any fumes coming from when the tanks get filled up going into the area where the preschool children are, inside and outside. So anyway, that's probably the most I've ever spoken through.
I love it.
Yeah. But I feel that way about it. And yes, I use Medicahans Road every day, all hours. So that's how I'm aware of it.
Peter?
I totally agree with what Henry said. The truck traffic, I'm the fire department as well, so I drive fire trucks up that road. It's hard to get out from Medicahans on 209 at a time, even in a fire truck without your lights on. And getting on there, it's a scene of quite a few accidents there from just the visibility right by the skate time entrance there, or the road where Medicon comes out to 209. So I have big concerns about that intersection there, especially if you're going to limit traffic going into Medicahans to get into the station if you're heading north. Tractor trailers, anybody, big trucks doing diesel is, getting in there, and that's your traffic flow in the station there does not indicate what that would mean in terms of the loop of vehicles going in and out of it, because we've restricted the right turn in, right turn out of
I can tell you from the gas filling perspective, they will be coming from the east, so they will be taking a right turn in off of 209 into the site. We have the flexibility we provided some additional hatch area to the south of the,
Gas
fuel pumps there, specifically for concerns about potential queuing from, any sort of camper buildup that, occurs here. It also gives them the additional space for any sort of larger RV type, vehicles that are here. But also, if we wanted to, visit a potential left turn out of the site or a left turn in, that additional striping there gives us the flexibility for a tractor trailer to come around. And if need be, because we are further to the east and we have a greater site distance, to make that a left turn out or in. You know, we could visit with the DOT the thought process that if they think a left turn lane will be required. I'm willing to.
I'm willing to go down that road and see. I think that your conversation with the DOT should definitely occur, and then their findings can come back to us and we'll determine if we want to change, overview the code or not.
Yeah, I just want to get an idea of what direction I should move it. So should I, right turn in, right turn out? It's very easy with the DOT.
I would have the conversation with them on both right turn in, right turn out, left turn.
We would do some sort of a left turn analysis.
Right.
In order to dictate whether or not one is necessary at that particular location.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I think that the overarching sides of, not so much in favor of another gas station in this area. But notwithstanding that, I think the overall thing is 310 feet from the intersection from 209 to the entrance of Metacons Road at 240 feet or so from Metacons to the entrance on 209. So, 310, 240 that way, roughly.
We do have, once again, we do have flexibility on our site in terms of the access onto Metacons Road, that if we needed to shift that to the north, we can do that.
Yeah, because it's a mess now. Oftentimes.
We just haven't timed the mess.
So we're gonna require, obviously, the DOT, but we're gonna ask Greg's team to do a traffic study as to what that will look like. Can you guys do that?
Typically, we would say they would do a traffic study, we'll review that.
We'll review it, okay. So do you have somebody on your side that would do that?
Yeah, the applicant has retained Collier Engineering.
Okay.
That's their-
So they'll do a
their
traffic.
consult-
Okay.
Consultant, we typically do their site plans.
So we would want them to provide the right in, right out, or the left option and bring us their findings, and then Greg's team will review it.
Yeah.
And then we can make a decision based on the town code. I have one more thing.
Just, can I note on that? If it truly backs up, like, it doesn't surprise me, the kids seem to like Arrowwood.
Yeah.
For reasons I'm not totally sold on, but it, if you do the left, which has become a really common regional problem, people use your facilities and cut through.
Right. That's the reason why I like the town code of the right.
Right. So if I see I can't get on to 209 coming down the town road,
Just cut through there,
I just cut through the gas station, whatever your sign says.
which is exactly what happens at the Valero on Queens Highway. When people can't get out, they go through and go right on.
Which is a summonable offense in New York State. Unfortunately, we don't have the manpower to do that.
And that was pre-existing with the PX Express. That's the reason why that didn't change.
I just had a quick question for the traffic study though. I mean, obviously, if I was the owner, I'd do the traffic study at the lightest time of day. I mean, the traffic study would have to be done 7 days a week, showing people.
That is how it's.
Is that how it's done? Yeah, I was just
And-
asking.
and peak hour.
Okay.
Okay, so I have one a little bit more concerning, which is the AP overlay district. I personally don't think that burying those tanks in the ground is a good idea. And the reason I say that is because there's a campground with 450 sites that's less than a half a mile away. Those people all have potable water. There is a trailer park that is up the road on the left that is even closer, that has 140 sites. And I think that those tanks in the ground could potentially be an adverse impact on our aquifer. Now, with that being said, I definitely don't want to see the tanks above ground, because that is a visual impairment on a scenic byway. So, I don't know the answer to that. I would want to see, you guys are the experts, you do 100 of these, so I want to see where you have done a filling station in an aquifer protection in the past, what your mitigation factor is, whether that be acceptable to our town engineer. And then if not, I'd like to see what that visual impairment above ground would look like, your mitigating factors to surround that with landscaping, so on, fencing, whatever you would do, and how the town would move forward with that, if at all, because of the scenic byway concern.
If I could just comment on that.
Sure.
It's not commonplace to put tanks of this size above ground for a gasoline filling station. You would see that if it's a fuel wholesaler, like a Botini.
Sure, Suburban Propane, yeah.
So, you know, the tanks in the last 20 years have made several advances from what they were in the 1980s and 90s. These are all double contained tanks. There is an electrical monitoring system between the interior and the secondary container. That is constantly going. So if there is a leak in the interior tank, it's noticed either by that system or it's noticed by the difference in the volumes that you're measuring on a daily basis.
BP thought that was the same way in the Gulf of Mexico, and that was not the situation.
Well, the BP situation in Mexico, in the Gulf of Mexico, is different than a tank storage at a gasoline.
Right, my concern is that the residents of the town of Accord, where there's probably 1,000 residents within a quarter mile of that, due to camping from out-of-towners or local, I won't call it low-income housing, but where they own their home on a rented site, could be severely adversely impacted that fast, and that is a huge concern for this board.
Correct. That restaurant across the line.
What?
And the street.
Across the line.
In a restaurant, is that what you're saying, Harana Market?
In the farmland,
So anyway, I'm not opposed to it, I just want to see what your mitigation is, because I don't.
I do want to point out, if there is a leak detected through the first chamber, you have a secondary chamber.
Sure.
That is a noticeable action that you have to report to the DEC. And there's a number of back checks that go on that. There's a daily volume inventory that takes place. They know what sold, how much was in the tank. So if you see a discrepancy there, you might see a discrepancy of a few gallons because that's what takes place with evaporation. But if you see like 20-gallon discrepancy, then they know, hey, let me check that if I didn't check it already today.
Right.
And then you have your secondary container. That tank is then pumped out and shut down. You can no longer operate that until you go ahead and reseal that.
Like I said, I agree with the mitigating factors. I want to see how that process works, because I think that the residents of the town should, and if they don't, they really should severely have a concern with that.
Yeah, and one other thing I just want to make everybody aware of, I'm not sure if you are aware of, is they have to go through annual leak detection tests. Like
We did it on the one up the street. We're familiar with that process.
And not like, a sanitary manhole where you just do your first test and that's it, you're done, just like a septic tank.
Sure.
You do your first test and you're done. There's no follow-up. So this is frequent oversight. And they also have to do leak tightness tests on their filling ports as well. So and this is constant. This is not like a, one and done once again type thing. So,
Sure.
These are the systems of checks and balances that are put in. Certainly, if you want to ask your question.
Well, about the check-in, because it all depends on the training. We put out employees.
No, this is going towards the state regulations. It has to be by a professional it's a third party that comes in and conducts. all
Every
this
day?
testing. No,
When you're seeing log of the leakage.
the employees, they check the volume. It's electronically checked. But the electronic,
No, that I understand. But
that is all computer, that checks, that's not an employee, that's an alarm that goes off, that you have a leak in your tank.
right, but the employee is trained to check unexplained difference in consumption? Or?
Yeah, when you have the leak detection equipment come off, you then call your third-party carrier.
No, that part I understand. You're saying they measuring and comparing.
Yeah, there's your inventory, your daily inventory, yeah.
So they train to do that anytime because the What did I?
If
say?
you're-
The changes of personnel
Right.
frequent.
Just want to make sure those training measures in
Well,
place.
there is, well, everybody who's dealing with a gas station and selling gas has to be trained. There's a DEC certification program that goes into that. But do they check that every day? They do, because you want to know, as the owner of the facility, you want to make sure that you're not moving out and somebody's stealing
Sure.
money from you, so it's a daily check.
All right, so our submittal for June is due May 27th. That'll be to Jasmine. So if you'd like to get on the June agenda, that'll be your time. Obviously, you have some work to do with traffic and DOT, so that might take longer than that. But I think that's your starting point, and then once we see those things, we can circulate for type 1 action and have the conversation.
Quick question.
Sure.
What sort of volume are we talking about in terms of fuel and diesel? On site?
The initial estimates are between 45,000 a month.
On site, there'd be
40.
How many gallon tank is the question?
Two 12,000 gallon tanks.
Okay.
The estimated projection of sales is 40 to 45 right now.
So two 12,000 gallon tanks, but it's diesel as well as
Correct.
gasoline.
There's, yeah, regular and unleaded, super unleaded and premium.
Campground people will be happy.
No, not really.
It's right there. Okay, we'll see you hopefully in June. If not, we'll see you in July.
I'm sorry.
I mean,
The traffic again, so.
they're gonna do a traffic study, so let's see what they come back with.
Comes to mind is the gas station on, with the Dunkin' Donuts. They have two entrances.
That was pre-existing.
I know, but it's still, it's efficient.
Our town code does not allow that, so we'd have to overview it.
Well, the town code doesn't allow congestion on, the metal carton. Well,
I understand that, but the town code, as Dave mentioned.
no, I understand, but there are some,
Well, we have to talk about it. Let's see what the traffic study is. You're getting the cart before the horse. I understand. Anything else from us?
You don't want any samples?
We do not. We,
Send a picture.
your architect and all those guys will bring us your renderings, and that's what we're gonna do. We're not gonna, we don't want to.
I apologize.
That's
I thought from our initial call, you wanted all the samples.
No, that's great.
100 gallons of non-ethanol.
Yeah.
Hey.
Samples of non-ethanol, no, just kidding. Okay, thank you. We'll hope to see you in June, if not July.
Looking like, well, if we had the traffic study done.
Yes.
We don't have,
No.
we're still compiling.
No, we want you to come back because I can get it to Greg. Absolutely. Greg, you are all set.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
No, that's all right. Appreciate it. Jason, do you have full-size maps? Come on up. Okay, next application is 2024-16. Site plan approval in an AR3 district located at 2921 Lucas Turnpike. It's for Heirloom Farms, owners Jason Hutchins and Carolyn Hoskins. Thank you for waiting. Sorry it took so long. The applicant is proposing an agricultural retail sales at their existing farm located off Lucas Turnpike. I apologize, we do not have maps for this. We have little guys and we have what's loaded. The applicant will provide those. The applicant is being represented by Patty Brooks, as you guys are familiar with, but Patty is unable to be making it tonight. So I know Patty will get us what we need because she is one of the best. So Mr. Hutchins, tell us give us a 30-second elevator speech and what you're looking for and your goals. And we can see where we go with that. Then we'll have Mr. Church do his review, go over those items line by line, and we'll go where we are. How's that? Okay. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
And I go by Carrie.
Okay, Carrie. Thank you. Good to know.
Carrie. So we have been operating in farming in that location since 2015.
Okay.
We grow vegetables, herbs, flowers, fruit, that sort of thing. We're currently open on Sundays, so we have a farm stand.
Great.
And folks come to pick up the eggs and veggies and all of that jazz. We also raise purebred Icelandic sheep. We're breeders with Isbona. And we sell, the wool products, to our customers, from the farm. We have, generally around 400 or so chickens, and we're sort of known for our eggs, at Alfred Market and at the Farmers Market. And currently we have customers coming and picking up outside, our barn, and we are seeking permission to allow customers to come inside. It would be nice in the winter. It's also would be really great for the eggs, for folks to just get them from refrigerators.
Rather than a.
Yeah.
And that inside portion is, small, an email.
Yep.
It's less than 40 by 40. There's other sections of the building are for storage and vegetable storage and things of that nature.
Great.
Yeah, and it is a 2-story, but customers will have access to the.
You're not proposing any water, septic, bathrooms, nothing of those natures. The retail sales is more for the coolers. So you have the place to put the stuff and where people can actually come in, be protected rather than being outside with the weather.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they visit us in winter, but it's cold, so it just.
I get it. Well, great name on the heirloom farm, because there might be nothing better than an heirloom tomato.
Yeah.
It might not be anything better. Yeah. So anything else before we go this way with Dave?
I have some small maps if you want.
Nope, we passed them around. That's good. So at the next meeting, make your note. We'll want Patty to bring us the full-size maps, obviously. And we're gonna go through Dave Church's. Dave, if you're ready. He's gonna give us the skinny, which I forwarded you already, as to his findings, and then we can sort of take it from there, if that's all right. Okay, Dave, hit it.
Okay, so you'll need a hearing. It's secret type 2.
Yep.
Small. No county referral.
Okay.
So that's the procedural stuff. Should probably send it to the fire district.
Got it.
Just because of the access. This has got that deeded right of, am I calling it right?
Yeah.
Deeded right of way.
Yes.
Which we've seen.
Which is beyond 500 feet, so that's why we don't need Ulster County Planning.
Correct.
Good, keep going.
Yeah, I would recommend that we just have this, David.
Sure.
Make sure that.
The right of way is okay?
The right of way is legitimate for the.
Dave Gordon on the right of way for heirloom, make sure that the deed is in the folder.
Planning board attorney, the document for.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
loaded.
and so, that shows what kind of access you have, right? Would our attorney, address that directly to David Gordon and just send?
Nope, you've already you've already provided us the deed, he's just gonna review it. Nothing needs to be done on your side.
Okay.
Go ahead, Dave.
So this is fairly straightforward. We reconciled you sent an email on how much of the building you're gonna use, right?
Yeah, so it's less than 40 by 40, yeah.
Okay, so we've got this calculation of one space per 175 square feet, so.
We would be in excess of that right now.
So you want to round to a number?
Right, currently we have 12. We have
You
12
may even have more than
parking
12.
spaces.
Okay, so
Yeah,
12 times
and the
175 is how much? Yes.
Yeah, we have more spaces than what.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we have a grassy area for overflow should be ever needed, though I tell
That's a good problem to have. So what you'll want to do is just make sure on the map, those parking spots are outlined. And then you can even say overflow, extra parking available on the map.
Right, so we need to see on the map those spaces delineated.
Okay.
And one of them has to be ADA compliant.
Yes.
Yes.
So it'll be spaced differently, you'll have to have a proper sign.
Yep.
That could be dealt with at building.
And
permit.
Patty can handle all that. So just mention to her that you need one ADA parking spot and 12 regular parking spots. And she'll provide all the signage and the delineation for that. She'll give that on her submittal.
We used the drawing that the town had on its website, as far as the sizing. Is that still what the town uses?
As a detail, sure, why not?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and we will see what that is.
You could even make a little hand wood sign or something that said parking with an arrow. If you wanted to propose that, we would want to see that if you do. If not, and the parking spots are there, we know to park there.
Okay. No exterior lighting, it's new
No.
signage.
You don't have any exterior lighting at all, right? You can,
I
no
mean,
new
it-
sign, new
Current-
sign,
No, no
new
news.
signs?
Where's your
No,
sign?
there's
Where's
no
your
new
sign?
signs. It's on the side of the barn and it says Heirloom Farm. You can't see it from, Lucas Turnpike, but you can once you get closer to us.
But you're not proposing any new sign? No sign at the street, no.
No, we just have a mailbox there and it does say Heirloom Farm on
I've seen it. Okay.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do any of that, the board's gonna have to see
it. Okay.
where and what it looks like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Understood.
So the only question I had, this is one of these little site plans, what kind of a map you want? Yep. So you supplied that, you're essentially your survey map that shows the building, the driveway,
Yeah, I
right?
just figured.
Because a complete site plan map is much more detailed.
Right.
Which you can waive all the items on.
Right, so the only
So
thing
you-
that
the
I would
question
wanna
is
see
what
is,
kind of map-
I only wanna see parking.
Okay.
The other items are either
Yeah.
pre-existing and have no changes.
Right.
I think that your interior of what you're proposing, the interior of the barn to look like,
Yeah,
you know, the 40 by 40 space,
yeah.
would just be nice to see. And I think you've done a hand drawing of like where the cooler's gonna be and the cash register and.
I lost that Pictionary last night trying to do a dinosaur, so, you know, wasn't very good at it.
So have, on Patty's same map where she's gonna put the parking,
We'll do it.
just throw us something. It could be very basic. You know, you're not proposing any seating or any interior hanging out. So here's where the egg cooler is, here's the cash register, here's the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fire guys are gonna wanna see, you know, any fire means of egress, so
And they've been coming.
Great.
Yeah, they've been coming.
good, because they do an annual fire inspection.
No,
No.
they've been helping us plan out
Oh.
emergency lighting and.
Doesn't get any better than them guys, so that's good, okay. So we'll need, I'm gonna send them a letter, requesting their input, so they're probably gonna say it's perfect, because you guys are already dealing with them, so, but we will potentially have a meeting scheduled with them. Peter is our district chief locally, so if there's a,
Maybe the gentleman who does the fire with the code enforcement
Sure,
office.
Mike,
I'm not sure if that's different.
Mike Bannock
Or will.
Yeah.
or Will Farrell. So we'll get a letter over to them and they'll respond, just so you're aware of that. Good, okay, Dave, keep going.
So when Patty does the map, just make sure she puts on there that she's the preparer and the date.
Okay.
She revises it, okay?
Okay.
Just for filing purposes.
Okay,
We can go back and say it's dated by, prepared by so-and-so.
okay, sure.
I think that's, so it's setting a public hearing.
Yeah, so you're in a flood zone. You're not
We're
worried,
in a flood zone acting for protection.
yeah,
I should know,
protection, I'm
but
not
you're
worried
not
about.
doing any ground disturbance.
Right. So I'm not worried about either.
And we're not worried about either.
'Cause you're not using
storing
it.
any hazardous,
No.
controlled hazardous materials,
No.
right? If you were to use, which you don't,
Please tell me no
because of
noise.
nature.
No noise, right?
No,
Thank you.
No.
no music, not to music.
Okay, good.
no, right, no power.
Checking that box.
No alcohol either.
Okay, lighting, you're not proposing any new lighting, but if you are
No.
gonna put a light, like, you know, the fire team would want an egress light or something, just
Yeah.
propose that on the map.
Okay.
Probably is a good
Not
idea.
open at night.
Okay.
But you have a right to, because you're farm operation, ag district, you have the right to operate equipment at night.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I do. I mean,
So,
my tractor lights are on at night.
right, but you're not proposing anything that's gonna.
No,
add-
for customer related, like as a farm, we're not installing any lights, but we utilize lights on our vehicles, like on
Yeah,
the
that's
tractors,
fine.
for example. For customers, we're not proposing any new lighting because we're not going to be open at night.
And can you just,
There's no reason.
I think you've already submitted it, but just make sure that you're confirmed on your hours of operation. We need something in writing that just says Monday closed, Tuesday closed, Wednesday, whatever it is, so that we can put that in your conditions of approval to make sure that you're within those limitations. So
Okay, so.
we don't care what they are, you
Because
just
we
provide.
don't, but we're not, like, we haven't quite decided what we wanna do yet. I mean, I know that we only wanna be open like 4 to 6 hours at a time, that's what we can handle while also
So
farming.
how about you just provide us something that says not to exceed these hours?
Oh, okay.
Like
And then-
8 to 6, how's that?
Oh, like
Oh.
that during. the
Hours
day.
of operation.
Yeah.
Right.
Way.
Okay.
So just give us a Monday through
Yeah.
Sunday of what that looks like, so we can put it in your condition for approval. And the reason that is
Okay.
because
Okay,
if you say you're gonna operate 4 hours a day and then you
Yeah.
operate 24 hours a day, that's in
Right.
violation of your site.
got you. Okay, okay, sure.
Anything else? I didn't either. We'll go quickly. Zorian?
I'm wondering that, road, is that should be two-way road or one-way road?
It's a right of way that they're provided by the neighbor.
How
So
wide is the road?
Mr. Gordon's gonna review the deed and we'll get back to this. Correct?
You know, on this map here, I just have a question. As you come off Lucas, the beginning of the driveway is dark hatched and then it's not hatched at all.
It's asphalt.
Does that represent a different type of road material?
Isn't it paved and then it goes to
Yeah.
gravel?
I believe it used to all be paved and over time it's no longer but the entrance, the first entrance is paved. And there's several
The
commercial.
Lucas Avenue was paved.
No, also, when you turn into the right of way,
From
there's like, half of it is paved, and then half of it is gravel.
Exactly.
And we maintain the gravel.
I remember I did a site visit here for a previous application, and that was paved, the portion was paved up until, and then it went into gravel.
So I guess in the legal documentation that Dave's gonna take a look at, you know, in terms of who maintains what, that should be in there.
Yeah, he'll review that and get it back to us.
Who's responsible for
The road maintenance agreement, the easement with road maintenance. I'll let you know what they have.
Anything else?
That's it.
I agree. Zach, Anne Marie,
Love it.
Peter,
It's not CSA, so you're just open for,
We're not a CSA. No.
so you don't have scheduled pickup times, you just pick up. Wouldn't say your hours.
Yeah, that's the goal. I mean, in the past, we would get a text from the customer, would go like literally, and that was a lot of work. And as we got a few more customers, it was like.
so right now you're open as a farm stand on Sundays only?
Sundays from 10 to 2 is what we're open now.
And you're
that
looking
was
to expand that to maybe 2 days, 3 days?
4 days, maybe.
Okay,
3
4
days,
days.
4
Yeah.
days, like,
It depends on how much product you could produce.
yeah.
Ask me and I'll give you the time. That's okay. Wait, you've already had your chance.
Well, I just wanna say something, like, so there's a good example is a Damn Good Honey Farm, like, they
Yep.
started like a couple hours here, a couple hours
Yep.
there, and then
Yeah.
they stayed within like the perimeters, but they were able to deal with the customers the way that they like, so
Yeah.
that's such a great business model, and
Yeah.
like, I know I appreciate that, so this
Yeah.
is good.
And our customers have asked for Mondays very specifically. So
Yeah.
I know we wanna be open Monday. Cause they're like, so much stuff is closed, like that's when you wanna come and like do eggs.
Absolutely,
and-
absolutely.
Peter, anything else?
Yeah, you're not gonna do self-serve per se, right, with like a vendor meat, kind of a vendor egg or.
I do appreciate Old Ford Farm does that,
Yeah.
and we get raw milk there sometimes. But I don't think so. We have a lot of animals on site and things, and I just don't know that that's a good fit for our farm, you know? So no, we're planning to be there on site, and we'll be farming there. Like we just planted beds of strawberries, like just kind of right there by the farm shop as folks come in. But we're not planning on self-serve.
And this is by the woodworking shop. Right?
You go through, you pass them, and then you get to us, and you'll see ours.
I think it's excellent.
Dorian?
My question as potential customers, so how do you operate if you don't have a sign on the Lucas Turnpike, just word of mouth?
Yeah. Well, so like on our website, on Instagram, that sort of thing, it says 2921 Lucas Turnpike, and if you put that in your GPS on your phone, it takes you right to us, right to like what will be the farm shop. We also have that mailbox. It's a white mailbox and it says Heirloom Farm on it. And also on Nextdoor, we're on Nextdoor, and we get new customers every Sunday, so somehow they find us. So thank goodness.
Social
But
media, you'd be surprised.
there was some customer who sort of called us the like special secret farm, so I don't know, maybe
Good.
that'll.
You know, we
have a little
changed the
quick
name.
day.
Okay, guys, so great work for the initial. So in order to get on the agenda for the June agenda would be May 27th. That's the first question Patty's gonna ask you is when is the deadline? So that's May 27th. That's to Jasmine's office. And if we receive, you'll get a post-meeting letter, but we'll get some information from you about the maps. We'll get the fire letter. I don't know.
Wanted to ask about what waivers to ask for.
Don't need any, I don't think. The question is, do you think we need to open the public hearing yet? I mean, I think we're too early. Yeah, okay. So we'll wait till the next meeting when we get the map completed, then we'll do the public hearing. But as of right now, we don't need any waivers. Okay? We'll see you hopefully in June. Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Looking forward to getting eggs.
Okay, in other matters, I need a motion to approve April 8th meeting minutes.
I make a motion to approve.
I second.
Zach and Anne Marie, all in favor?
Abstain.
Aye. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
No. Abstain, then Zori. Get it, go in order. All right, abstain, okay. Lastly, I'd like to make a motion to, enter into executive session at 9:59 PM for the purpose of discussing current litigation or discussing, matters of personnel. Do I have a second to that?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any abstain, any nays? What? You're, relax. Hang on, I haven't even got it voted through yet. All in favor of going into executive session? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Thank you. Can you please turn off the Zoom at this time?